just a bloke in a bar.
Fuck! All right.
Just clicked record just before that.
Keep that up.
Oh, let's get into it. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. Wow. What a night it was last night. Look, I'm just going to be honest, guys. Rugby league was the winner. Rugby league was the winner. Rugby league has had a three-peat. That's what I'm going to say. Guru, how was your night last night?
Fantastic, mate. First time since 81, 82, 83. 3 premierships in a row. History was made. How bloody good.
Timmy?
Mate, one of the greatest grand finals of all time. We had the Broncos, who after 62 minutes, just in case of I know you had a big night, Kempy, so you'd be a bit cloudy, a bit of a hazy memory, but on the verge of bridging this arc, coming full circle from the wooden spoon to a premiership. Nathan Cleary's haters out there be sitting there going, another big game, he doesn't get up for it, hates the big stage, all that, to arguably 20 of the greatest minutes by an individual I've certainly ever seen. Got the three-peat, first time since the early 80s. We were just treated to one of the great games of footy. Yeah,
it was incredible. At the stadium, it was unbelievable. And before the match even started, me and Matty were talking, we're like, look, worst case scenario, we get to see arguably a future GOAT in Nathan Cleary do what he does. But we get to see the Penrith Panthers go 3 in a row. So, like in 20 years' time, when they talk about that 3 in a row side, we can say we were watching that 3 in a row side. Hammy?
Yeah, second three-peat in a couple of weeks. We saw Matty 3 weeks in a row, Face the Music, and now the Broncos. So, to see more history like that, pretty special. Pretty special.
Pretty special.
My mail coming out of a core, Matty potentially to blame for last night's result. Early crow. Any truth to that?
Okay. We'll get into it. So, we're sitting there, and the Broncos are looking good. And I'm doing what any good Broncos fan would do and just staying fucking quiet. And this idiot, when Isaiah Yeo gets the head knock, he goes, oh, mate, the game's over if he gets taken off. And I go, Matty, shut the fuck up. Anyway, so he cursed the Broncos.
So he's responsible.
Blame him.
There you go.
Blame him. All right. As usual, let's get into it. Actually, before we get into it, though, I want to give a massive shout-out to Jai Opatai. He boxed on the weekend, Sunday morning, and absolutely flogged Jordan Thompson. Guys, he is the best boxer in Australia currently, Jai Opatai. Please, go give him a follow on Instagram. He is so underrated, so underappreciated by this country, but he reps this country to the fullest, and he is killing it. He's current world champion, and you listen to the commentators of the night, they reckon he's unbeatable at this weight class, guy. So Jai Opatai was absolutely outstanding. Massive congratulations, mate. And you are a savage, absolute savage. But let's get into it. Face the Music, brought to you by our absolute legend partners over at Sportsbet. It is time for the finals Face the Music of the rugby league season. Don't worry, I heard your hearts breaking thinking that the podcast was over. No, we continue on. But let's get into it, Hammy.
Let's do it. This is a particularly special edition of Face the Music for the grand final. Last night we saw history. We saw something they're going to replay for generations to come.
I hope not.
Today on Face the Music, I just get the sense we're going to see something that is also going to be replayed for generations to come.
God damn it.
I just get that sense.
Okay.
So anyway, let's get into it. Panthers 24, Broncos 22. The over-under was 38.5 points and the line was 3.5 points. No one got the Churchill medalist because it was Nathan Cleary, and we all agreed that was too short. That was too boring for the segment to leave him on the table. So no one got the medal. I'll start with you first, Denham. Tough night at the office for you. 1 out of 5. So no Churchill. You had the Broncos. You danced around it. You had him 13 plus, and then you had Herbie to score. But you did have the overs. You were the only person on the panel that had the overs. So congrats. You got something that you can take away something from last night.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's worth it. It was worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, we had Timmy. Timmy, you had the Panthers head-to-head. You thought they would cover, which they didn't. You had the unders. Crichton any time, so there's 2. And then Yo was your medalist. Matty, you had the Panthers head-to-head. You also thought they'd cover. You had the unders, and you had Dylan Edwards to score, which you didn't do. Then Guru, you had the Panthers to cover, the unders, Tungo, and then you had Martin as your medalist. And then you boys, you got an absolute clinic here. You know how to tip in a grand final. It must be so special. You just sit here on the panel, you're like sponges, you soak it up every week, and you can apply it to your own tipping next year. I had the Panthers to win. I had the Broncos with the start. 3.5 points. And then Crichton was my anytime try scorer, 4 grand finals in a row. The unders cost me, but who cares? I had 3 out of 5. So,
wow, what a knock.
not a bad knock. So the results from this week. 3 out of 5 for me. Stepped up when it counted. Timmy, you saved us all from another pathetic display of dancing, thankfully. 2 out of 5 for you.
Thank Christ.
Denon, not your night, 1 out of 5. Matty, proving that last week was an absolute fluke when you went 8 from 8, 1 from 5 for you. And Guru, 1 out of 5 for you as well. So we've got 3 people here on 1 out of 5. So what do I do? I have a look around.
What do you do?
I look around at what else I can kind of take into account here. Denon, you are not dancing this week. We don't kick blokes when they're down.
Yep.
That's just how we roll.
I like that.
Yeah?
You're a good bloke, Cammy. I don't care what they say about you.
Thank you.
Kiss ass to me. Absolute kiss ass.
So congratulations, Denon. No dancing for you. Matty, as we saw after you completed your own 3 pegs, the well has well and truly run dry on your dance moves. So you will not be dancing this week. This is one of those where were you when moments unfolding in front of us here. Due to popular demand, now before you get up, I've got to say I was at the AFL Grand Final last week.
Did you see Timmy there?
No, I was looking for him. He must have been behind the glass somewhere. I know he likes to operate. But I had Collingwood fans and Brisbane fans coming up to me saying, when are you going to get Guru to do the chicken dance?
No way.
These are AFL thoroughbreds. There is a national outcry for this, Guru. So without further ado,
Yes!
let's get him up the front.
The big dog. The big dog. Here he is.
Yeah.
Oh, the people have waited. You can do it just there, everyone, bro.
Thank God.
You can just do it here. Oh, yeah, here we go, baby.
Oh, hang on.
Tell you what I didn't want to do? The chicken dance is I lock eyes with one of the warriors of rugby league. So
We got Jimmy Graham behind the video there.
I like to
Camera.
consider myself one of the warriors of rugby league. Actually, so,
Here we go, the
all
big
right,
fella.
without further ado,
I forgot the clap.
That's it,
unbelievable. There it is.
There it is.
Facing
There
the
it
music.
is.
You called for it.
yeah.
Guru delivered.
Oh, that was
Wow. I've got goosebumps.
Right,
I don't know
honestly,
about you boys.
seriously, you know when there's a lot of hype around something and it
Yep.
doesn't live up to it?
Yep.
That lived up more to the hype
Yep.
than last night's grand final.
Absolutely.
That lived up to the hype and some.
They call me the
Wow.
Nathan Cleary of chicken dances.
Oh, I've got chills. So there you go. There it is, folks. Guru chicken dancing before the season's out. Everyone can go home happy.
Oh, that's great stuff.
Gotta
That
be
is
chuffed with that.
great stuff.
Yeah.
Mate.
So what are we
What
going to
next?
tip?
Yeah,
what are we
we-
going to tip now?
yeah. Is there
It's
any-
tough because there's no footy on this weekend.
Okay.
Tragically. That's coming up. We got the Pacific Championship coming up in a couple of weeks. So what I'm going to get you guys to tip for me is a Smoky player for the Aussie squad.
Okay.
Smoky for the Kiwi squad.
Yep.
And I want your golden boot winner as well.
Okay.
So whenever you're ready, Kempy, you got the new ball here. Who do you reckon? Who are your Smokies and your golden boot?
Okay, so for Smokey, I'm going Tony Staggs in the centres.
Yep.
The golden boot, I am going to go. Ooh, that's a tough one. Is Cleary on the table?
Yeah.
I'm going to go Cleary.
Okay.
And what was the last one? Sorry?
A Kiwi squad.
A Kiwi
Smoky.
Smokey. Jermaine Asako. Is that a Smokey?
Yeah.
That's a Smokey.
That's Smoky.
He's probably locked in, but okay,
Has he
Asako.
played for New Zealand before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sako? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Asako.
Yep. Who you got, Guru?
I am going to take Selwyn Cobbo as my smoky for the Kangaroos.
Ooh, I like that.
New Zealand, I'm going to go for Will Warbrick.
Yep. That's actually singing off the same hymn sheet as me, Guru. Who you got, Tim?
I'm going to take Nate Cleary as my golden boot too.
Yep.
I'll go some real smokies, sort of throw a few cats amongst the pigeons. And
So you're going to have a dig this week?
Yeah, we're going to have a dig. Season's done. Pressure's off. Didn't have to dance. Chicken dance is done.
I did notice Guru's gone nice and defensive. He's gone with one of my Smokies and he's also gone the same golden boot as
I
you.
did not bring my shovel this week after. Thank you.
A real smoky at centre for the Kangaroos. Pretty light on there this year, I think. A few injuries, a few post-season surgeries. Ruben Garrick to sneak in, get a bit of a run there.
What?
Wow.
So in the squad, are you saying?
I think squad, yeah.
Squad. Garrick the Schnack.
Wow.
The snack.
That's huge. If that's 2 points, it pays off, and that's on the record.
Okay.
Because that's a huge smoky.
Huge smoky. And to be honest, he broke his neck like 2 games before the end of the season, so I don't even know if he's getting surgeries or what's going on, but we'll go him anyway.
Yep.
Get real smoky. I haven't even looked at the Kiwi squad, but Rocco Berry just sneak into the squad.
Ooh,
Like
I
that.
don't mind
Yep,
that.
good
I don't mind
season.
that.
That's smoky as hell.
Golden boot, Harry Grant.
Ooh.
Harry Grant. And, mate, we'll get real funky and we'll go into the Turnbull Stakes on Saturday. We'll throw Without a Fight in there at $8 as well.
Holy, where's this courage come from? Timmy the Tin Hunt hasn't been like this all year.
I'm in holiday mode, mate.
Is that a mask? What's going on?
Yeah, what is going on? You know, it's a chicken dance.
It is.
It's giving him courage.
It's giving us all a lift. If I'm
It
honest.
has,
And
it
all the
has.
people at home, it'll give them a massive lift as well.
I came in here a bit down.
Yeah.
And for good reason. I feel happy now.
It was at the forefront of my mind, Kim.
Yeah.
You got a big
Guru,
show ahead of you.
Appreciate that, Guru. Appreciate that.
I reckon this is a big one. I don't think he'll play, but I reckon they'll bring Ezra Mam into the squad.
Ooh.
Australia.
Ooh, I like that.
I think Jesse Arthurs will play for the Kiwis. He hasn't played before, has he?
Is he Kiwi? He's
Yeah.
Kiwi, yeah.
He's Kiwi, yeah.
I don't think he's played, but that's a great chat. I
Yeah.
like that.
Golden Boot, just Cleary. I think Cleary's going to win it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. I'm going to go Dylan Edwards in the Aussie squad.
Okay.
In the squad.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm going Warbrick in the Kiwi squad as well. And I reckon Cam Munster is my golden boot.
Oh, you reckon redemption?
I think so.
Okay. I
Yeah.
like that.
So there we go. That's it. That's Face the Music.
We have Face the Music.
Yeah.
And it'll be back next week. Don't worry, guys. It'll be back next week. Now, we'll be out. The teams will be selected by then, I'd assume.
Yeah, we'll have a couple of squads picked then. You'd
Okay.
hope. With the way
Okay.
to go.
So we'll be back next week. That's all thanks to our legend partners over at Sportsbet. If you're going to have a punt, you deal with Sportsbet. They're the best in the business, got all the features. And they've got a new feature coming out soonish. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
spoiler alert.
Big feature.
Your big feature, but it is freaking sick.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that.
Actually, just before I let you go, I just wanted to go through maybe a couple of big price things.
Oh,
that
I
happened
like
last
this.
night.
Yeah, I like this
Just-
stuff.
Just for old time's sake.
It gives an opportunity for a man to dream.
Yeah, it does. Some people could have cleaned. If you had your crystal ball out last night, you could have cleaned up here. So first try scorer, Mitch Kenny, $61.
Oh.
That was paying. Off the nudie run in the grand final. That is
Oh.
history. That is history in its finest. Ezra Mam, 3 or more tries. Hazard a guess. What do you reckon?
3 or more tries, 120 to 1.
Pretty close. $101. $101.
$100.
And if you had Ezra Mam to be a top finals try scorer, he was equal to top. Oh, in the end, that was paying $501.
Wow.
Wow, because we did that. Didn't we do that? We should have gone.
Yeah.
We
Look,
did
I wasn't going to bring it up.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought, you know what, I'll just wear it.
controversy.
Yeah, we'll let it slide.
Controversy.
I've got them here. I can go through them if you like.
Would have been helpful 10 minutes ago.
If you live betting, Penrith slipped out to $61 live. Really? The Broncos came into $1.01 live. So some big swings in prices there. Those are the big headlines. Betting prices wise from last night.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
my mood just crashed and burned.
Yeah. And then I think if you wanted to have a look at our finals futures, only 2 people came away with any points. Guru and Timmy both had Penrith to win. No one had the top try scorer. I was closest with DWZ. We got 3 tries.
Okay.
So there you go. Pretty irrelevant points now, Guru. Can I get it out there for you?
I think I got what I deserved.
There we go. Face the music, done and dusted. As always, thanks to Sportsbet. Gamble responsibly, guys. You win some, but you lose more. And we'll see Hammy next week.
See you next week.
Alrighty, let's get into it. Before we do, though, you may have noticed a gentleman has joined me to my left, the great James Graham. He has joined me to talk about the grand final last night, but also you got something big coming up, don't you, Jimmy Graham?
Yeah, that's right. The podcast, The Buy Round, we're doing a 10-part special series, the Rugby League Roundtable.
Yep.
I'm joined by Shane Richardson from a game governance perspective, South's coach Jason Dimitriou from a coach perspective, Sharks captain Dale Finucane, and Danny Wilder from Channel 9. So we get 10 topics hit from every single angle. The first one drops on Wednesday. We're talking all things media and how the media influence the game, how coaches and clubs can use it to their advantage, who leaks stories. It's a fascinating conversation. And yeah, we flick back to every Tuesday after the Wednesday drop, and it's 10 topics round table from every angle. It's a great show.
And you've also got the buy round, which is you've interviewed some of the game's biggest names.
Yes, thoroughly enjoying that. We've got
Yeah.
a really good one coming out very soon with Todd Carney. What a fascinating
Oh,
journey
yeah,
he's been
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Like the change in that person is unbelievable, really. When you know the bad boy headlines and the impact that he's making in the community up there in the Gold Coast at the minute. He's doing some fantastic work, and he got really deep and personal and honest. And
Yeah.
really appreciate him coming on. And we some fantastic guests. And
I cannot wait. The round table, Is that what's called, the round table?
Yeah, the rugby league round table, or
Love
as I
that.
call it, the not so round table, because it's not round.
Oh, okay.
The panel
you know
sounds
what?
unreal.
Yeah, the panel sounds. And Shane Richardson, he's a former Rabbitohs CEO. Now that,
Rabbitohs CEO, he Panthers CEO. He's done
Okay.
some time over in England as well, and currently, from recollection, he's part of this Brisbane Firehawks, or I think they maybe been rebranded
Yeah.
Queensland Firehawks.
they were the Tigers, and they would
Yeah.
turn into that.
But
Yep.
he's a big advocate for them coming in as the 18th team, or potentially 19th or 20th.
Yeah. Actually, and you interviewed him too. And a lot of feedback to me has been it's one of the better interviews like that you can listen to in footy.
Yeah, very intelligent person. I probably wasn't expecting too much, but he gave us so much gold, and he can talk for Australia as well. He
How good.
can go.
How good. So, yeah, subscribe to The Buy Round on all good podcasting services. Also got Instagram. Go to The Buy Round Instagram. Honestly, also what's so good about The Buy Round, it's how regular you get the guests. And I know how freaking hard it is to get guests regularly, trust me. So it's really, really cool. And it drops every Sunday night around 6 p.m.
Yeah, every Sunday night is the interview show. We have a Jam and Cheese, myself and
Yes.
Brandon Smith
Yep.
drop. That's normally early in the week, Tuesday morning. But yeah, we've got a bit of a restructure with the Rugby League round table,
Yep.
or Rugby League not so round table coming in. But yeah, we do 3 episodes a week. And yeah.
So you go, this like going forward, it'll go the interviews on Sunday, and then we'll go the round table on Tuesday, did you say?
That's correct.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep.
it'll drop nice and early for the tradies on their way into work to have a bit of a listen to and see what they think of it. But it is fantastic, and we hit the 10 biggest subjects in the game from every angle. We thought it was important to include everybody, and yeah, then there's no biases, and it's a great chat.
Now let's get into Team of the Week. So Team of the Grand Final. Ooh, this is a hard one. Okay, at number 1, we have Edwards. Boy, didn't he deliver last night. He did everything that you would expect Edwards to do and needed to do for his team. And you know what I loved about Edwards' performance? He didn't allow the superstar, air quotations, of Reece Walsh to almost tempt him into trying to play like Reece Walsh. Edwards says, no, that's not what I bring. I bring just grit and a lot of meters and getting through the tough stuff. So I love that. But we'll get more deeply into it in the review. We're going to say something, Ru?
So for the review.
Okay,
Just quickly, you sort of touched on it there, but just the contrast of Dylan Edwards and Reece Walsh as footballers, they could not be more different rugby league fullbacks. And that was on show in every way last night. How good was that to see it unfold?
Oh, mate, it was so freaking good. So good. Arthur's at 2. Talk about saving your best ever game for a grand final. He was outstanding. Crichton at 3. Staggs at 4. To'o at 5. Mam at 6. Wow. Cleary, 7. I mean, seriously, we'll get into it. 8, Leota. 9, Kenny. 10, Haas. 11, Martin. 12, Sorensen. 13, Fisher-Harris. Now, we could have gone Paddy Carrigan. We could have gone Isaiah Yeo. But we just saw that Fisher-Harris, Leota and Haas all played so well that we had to get him into our starting side. At 14, Cogger. Wow, he played good. Holy heckers. At 15, Flegler. 16, Yo. 17, Palacia. Now, time for Hungriest Player of the Week. This week, there is no code, guys. Apologies, because it's a long weekend, so we can't get the code generated. But it is time for Hungriest Player of the Grand Final. And I tell you what, he must have been starving that first 60 minutes, because that last 20 minutes, he was hungry as shit. It is Nathan Cleary, Hungriest Player. He actually goes back-to-back prelim and grand final. Apparently, he can't play big games. I don't know where that come from. Prelim Hungriest Player. Grand final hungriest player. We'll go deeper in the review, but that's brought to you by Menulog, guys. Download the app, use it if you haven't. Next week, we'll have the code back, but support them because they support us, and they've been giving you guys codes all year long, so make sure to grab a feed on Menulog.
Just have a look at your team there. Obviously, your halves pairing. Did those two potentially have the 2 best 20-minute periods in grand final histories by individuals?
It's got to be
the
close.
Same half?
It's got to be close because that's like when you look at those, when you look what Mam did individually. If you just scored one of those tries in a grand final, that would be enough. He did 3 of them.
Well, the first try he scored, I'd put that up with Cody Walker, 2021, Stacey Jones, 2002. That was unbelievable. He scored 2 in the next 7 minutes. Another one.
It's absolutely wild.
He's 20.
Yeah, I know.
He was, like 18 months ago, he was a highlight reel that we were going, is he going to be able to make it in the NRL?
Yeah.
Too early?
Like, is it too early?
It's
He
too
needs
early
some
at
time
the
to develop
moment, yeah.
himself. Yeah. It's funny, I went to the captain's run the day before the game and, like, just got to speak to the boys and speaking to Ezra, and I was like, how you feeling, mate? You know, you just want to get where the headspace is. He was so relaxed. And I was like, you're nervous. Are you going got a big game. He's like, man, I'm not really like that. I'll go down to Coogee or chill. He said, until I like get out there, that's when I'll fire up. And I just said to him, just enjoy it. You're there now. You're just there now. So you may as well enjoy it. And boy, did he enjoy it.
And I love the images of him. You know, that photo you had with him, just had he had the white t-shirt. He cut the sleeves.
Yeah.
You know, he had all this swag about him. And I thought, I don't know about it, but Jesus, backed it up.
Oh, mate, he was super calm and just excited.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thing with a guy like man when he's rolling into a grand final, understanding how big it is, but also excited to the challenge. So he was incredible.
How many tries do you reckon Ezra Mam scored this season?
16? No, sorry.
Including last night?
Including last night? 19.
18.
18.
Yeah.
That's
18.
a bloody lot of tries for a 5'8".
Holy, 18 tries for a 5'8".
So he finished on 18. The next closest 5'8", Cody Walker had 9. Obviously a handful of extra games for Mam.
Wow.
Doubled the next best 5'8". Cam Munster had 8.
That's insane. That is actually
From a 20-year-old 5'8".
Doesn't it feel like he just plays his role in that side too?
Yeah. And wait till he begins to get confident in what he can do and starts demanding, to be set up in certain places. The whole team has to get to a certain point for him to attack. Whereas at the moment, he's more just going, Reno, where do you need me? And then I'll just work my magic. But we'll get into the review. Let's get straight into it. Obviously, brought to you by Menulog, guys. Download the app today. Grab some food. They've supported us all year long, so make sure to support them when you can. Let's get into it. Panthers win their 3rd straight premiership. We are witnessing greatness. We said this before last week. Enjoy it. How many people wish they could go back to when Joey did what he did? How many people could wish they'd go back to when Kevy did what he did? We are in the midst of watching Cleary do what he did and watching the Panthers team as a whole do what they did. It was an absolutely incredible performance. 97% completion rate. If you ever want, a lot of teams can talk about putting pride into a jersey. A lot of teams can say, we will do this and we will do that. If you wanted to see an action that shows you how much it means to them, just look at that 97% completion rate and you can make all the arguments about all the talent they've got, you can make all those arguments. But at the end of the day, this Penrith Panthers side has wanted it more than arguably any team in the history of rugby league.
I think the thing that stands out for me is how they won these 3 premierships. Look at 2021, that was a huge defensive effort. There was one off the back of Nathan Cleary's kicking game. 2022, they just bashed that Parramatta pack and they moved the ball around a little bit. And then last night, they had to make the greatest comeback in NRL history. They've just done it in so many different ways. And, mate, we said it last week, if it wasn't for Cam Smith, they've won 4 in a row.
That's crazy to think.
It's literally, in my opinion, the greatest player we have ever seen was the only thing standing in this guy's way.
It's insane. Timmy?
Yeah, that 97% completion, Kempy, is what I want to talk about because on this podcast, particularly over the last 6 to 8 weeks, you're sitting there and you've mentioned it a few times and you've sort of said the only team that can compete with the Penrith Panthers at their best is the Brisbane Broncos. And you went on to say time and time again, if they can complete it 80% plus, I think they can blow them away. And in my head, I'm going, mate, just Broncos bullshit bias. Who is this bloke? Last night I was proven right because they defended their arse off that first 20 minutes off the back of repeated errors. It was a real poor start from the Broncos. Scored 1 try off a short dropout, tapping behind the line, pure luck. And then when they got a bit of ball and started completing themselves, Brisbane, they did blow them off the park. But Penrith completing at 97%, they had less strike than the Broncos. They didn't look as good as the Broncos, but they've gone, we're just not going to make a mistake. You will. You'll let us into this game, and when you do, we'll capitalise. 97% in a grand final.
It's unheard of. It is unheard of. Jimmy, what do you think, mate?
Look, as a role as like a commentator, as a pundit, like you get carried away in the emotions sometimes, but you're not as emotionally invested. I woke up this morning and genuinely was like, did that just happen?
Yeah.
Because it didn't seem real. The game was over. Yeah. Everybody in that it felt like everybody in that stadium, when they've gone to 24-8, it was party time. They were already printing the pages. Broncos break this record of Panthers. They're back in vogue. Ezra Mam was Clive Churchill.
Yeah.
Cleary was overrated.
It was done. And then you see they lose Isaiah Yeo, Part of that time, they lose Sorensen as well. Luai comes off injured. Isaac Tango came off injured as well. And it looked as if even Penrith had stopped believing. But there was one man that still believed. And if you look back, and when he makes that break and then puts the ball on the inside to Moses Leota, Moses Leota scores, watch the difference. So usually Penrith, when they score a try, all the players come from everywhere to celebrate. Moses Leota puts the ball down and just walks back. There's no one there.
Yeah.
I think even the Panthers players thought this is a consolation try. Make it a bit closer. I can't ever recall seeing a try scored by a Penrith player without anybody coming over the top. It didn't happen. They'd lost belief. But Cleary, he kept it. He kicks that 40-20.
So good.
And then you just can't really put into words just the change in the flow of the game and the momentum. It was great watching. It had all the ingredients of a great grand final, but usually when that happens, it disappoints.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't last night. But Brisbane Broncos, it's the one that got away.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. From the Brisbane perspective, I'm incredibly proud. One thing I can really admire with those boys is, yes, it was the greatest comeback, in grand final history. But I think, I don't know about you boys, watching it, it wasn't like the Broncos gave up. It was just that the Penrith Panthers just were so clinical that they choked them out. They made that one or two errors, a few offloads maybe they should have done, and then Paddy Carrigan, fatigued as anything, has that one error. Then the Panthers just kept repeats it. And so that's what I really admire. Even though the Broncos went down, it wasn't due to a lack of we're just going to, cue in the rack, whatever, we've won this game. It was more a mixture of just some errors on top of Cleary, Leota and Fisher-Harris. Like when Leota and Fisher-Harris came back on, they just got the game by the scruff of the neck and said, nah, we're not going down like this.
That's what, when I was watching the first half, just like how much work all the Brisbane middle forwards had to get through, and I just thought, geez, this has got to catch up on them back into this game. But then Ezra exploded, and I went, maybe this Brisbane side's just different. Like, I guess, Jimmy, to ask you, have you ever been in games like that where you get through so much work in the first half that it's going to come back to bite you later?
Yeah, well, you're gonna pay a price.
Yeah.
You start like that and you do so much work on your goal line. You could see Brisbane struggling to come out their own end for periods in that first half. Lots of forwards with hands on knees, and you will. They hung on in there, and then Flegler goes over, and we talk about that momentum and the switch back, but then I guess we got caught up in the Brisbane show and forgot that Penrith are a champion team and won't go away, and they're gonna get opportunities. They've got some of the best players in the world, the best, arguably one in line for the greatest of all time in Nathan Cleary. So you'd be naive to think they won't get some form of opportunity, and perhaps they. We could break down the Brisbane performance, but perhaps they paid the biggest price for their poor start. Like, they were below 50%.
44% in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah. Like
Unbelievable.
That, you just don't play any game of football like that.
If you ever look after the 30-minute mark, Walters had made 23 tackles, Haas had made 20, Ricky had made 20, Carrigan had made 21, Capel had made 15, Mitch Kenny had made 10, Fisher-Harris 12, Leota 9, Sorensen 11, Yo 10.
Just choked him out of it.
Get a load of this for just putting the numbers together now, so apologies if it's slightly off, but I'm pretty sure it's right. Scoreline with Leota and Fisher-Harris on the field, 26-0 Penrith.
Yeah, wow. Just unbelievable. Their ability to just wrangle momentum back is incredible.
That is remarkable.
Yeah. And Panthers, some people go, when you talk about choking teams out, it's not just a matter of high completion rate. It's the way they play as well, trusting that eventually open up. If you watch the game last night, the amount of times Cleary would drop back under. And as a viewer, you're almost like, why do you just keep dropping back under? Go wide, there's space out there. But it's because all they're trying to do is get your middle so tired that eventually they just fall apart. And that last try was purely fatigue. Step back off the inside. Put it this way. If they're not fatigued, that last try with Cleary gets absolutely jammed by Capewell and Ricky. But what does fatigue do? It makes you make incorrect calls or come off the line a bit slower than you normally would, or come in covering when you should just be keeping the space inside. And that's all planned by the Panthers. Like, this isn't just an accident of good players. Like, this is 17 blokes sticking to a plan. It is nothing short of incredible. And it's inarguable. This Panthers side is one of, if not the greatest rugby league side, club side we've ever seen.
And if you need any more proof of that, go back and watch their game against the Warriors 3 weeks ago. They forced AFB, Egan, all these guys to make all these tackles in the first half, and the arse just fell out the back of them.
I actually think, watching last night, I think it is a reason why it doesn't translate as well to Origin at the moment. It may in the future. In Origin, often New South Wales will drop under. But Origin's, because you've got 17 of the best of the best of the best, you're not going to get that. Well, you're going to get fatigue for sure, but they're not going to drop so much as a club team will drop.
But why do you think, Jimmy, this Penrith for 4 years on the trot is repetitious? They turn under. And they do it, I believe, more than any other club in the NRL. It clearly works with a ploy to tie out the opposition, to make the forwards move, to make them work. And we saw in the back end of the game, they ran out of steam. Why do other clubs not try to replicate that as much as Penrith?
Well, other clubs don't have the same level of players as what the Penrith Panthers do. So I think a key part of that as well is Isaiah Yeo's ability to drop his other middle forwards. I think we saw Isaiah Yeo skip across, bring Moses Leota underneath, and did you see him put Pat Carrigan on his backside in the open exchanges?
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
That's an ability of Isaiah Yeo.
Okay.
That's Cleary does the same. It was pretty evident that that's where the Panthers were trying to do, but they back it up with their completion rate and the catalogue they've got. Not every team has an Isaiah Yeo or a Fisher Harris or a Moses Leota or a Spencer Leniu coming off the bench as well. So it helps to have those players. And the thing about the Panthers, they make it look easy, but it's actually very difficult. And you can see with the work ethic and the commitment to this plan, like that all happens in the preseason, and the hours away, not the 80 minutes that we all get to witness. And that's where they seem to buy into that, and the ability to remain motivated, because it's bloody hard work, and to keep turning up to do it. It's a testament to what Ivan Cleary and this whole team out there at Penrith have managed to achieve.
And it's that, sorry mate, it's that dual approach, isn't it? Of you mentioned, like, when you come to talking on bringing blokes under and why it's so successful for them. But you mentioned completions, and it's all right. It's all good and well doing that and tiring out the opposition pack. But if you complete it at 70%, you're turning the ball over and you're giving them breathers, well, they'll get their breaks and that doesn't work. But when they're completing it 80% plus every game, well, they don't get a rest.
And also, that's true. But when you're defending in the middle and you're in that constant grind and fatigue starts to set in, the last thing you want to do is have to think. You want the one out hit up. You want to take Moses Leota on and manage that tackle for him to just run with no support. The last thing you want is Isaiah Yeo, when he's got his own run threat, he can skip out and he can come underneath as well. He can drop players off underneath. He can run that traditional shape that a lot of middle forwards have, where they've got the guy pushing up on the outside and then he can fire it to Nathan out the back of that. So if you're defending against that and you're already fatigued, and then you've got to start thinking about all these different things and looking for certain cues around trying to predict what Isaiah Yeo is going to do, well, it makes it more difficult because you've had to make more tackles. It sounds pretty simple, but it's so hard to defend against when you've just got that fatigue in the lungs, in the legs, but also the fatigue in your decision making ability as well.
It also completely stops your line speed, because if Isaiah Yeo has different options, you can't just go, here's my man, I'm going to fucking jam him. And that's why Penrith, when they just get on that roll, it's like, well, why don't they get line speed? Well, they don't get line speed because they have to keep shape in case they get beaten on the edges, or in case Isaiah Yeo doesn't drop over, he tips or he steps and he goes through the line. Another thing as well with the Panthers game plan, it seems simple, but all the moving pieces complement each other. For example, the outside backs take all the runs out of their end. The forwards don't do anything. And so it's all built towards, we're going to have our forwards rested for when they defend, and we're going to have your forwards defending constantly at high speeds. Plus, you don't have the same game plan as us because you're going to have to get back and take some hit-ups as well.
Well, there was a moment in yesterday's game, I think it was Reynolds, went for a 40-20. Taruva gets back, knocks it back in. Dylan Edwards picks it up, and he carries the ball to the 35. So you've gone from what maybe was going to be a 40-20, about to go into defence mode again. Oh, no, actually, Dylan Edwards has picked the ball up, made a couple of tackle breaks, and brought me. So then, as a middle forward, not even, we've just saved it, I'm going to have to go and get back behind the ball on the 20. But I only have to wait until the 35.
Yeah.
Edwards got his nose through on every run last night, didn't he?
Every
he was
run.
Incredible. Okay, can I ask you, what's got you here? Fisher Harris and Mosley Otter, they've now been to 4 grand finals in a row. You did a very similar thing, even more grand finals in the early parts of your career. I look at guys like you when you were playing and think, I wish you could play State of Origin. I wish we could see him in that arena because, it's not fair, but it's the reality of it. It elevates guys in our game over here. These boys can't play Origins similar to you, but mate, they have just what they've done on the biggest stages and the brightest lights. For me, I'm starting to push them into the greatest combinations of front rowers of all time. As a front rower that's been in the arena, where do you have them sitting?
Yeah, they're right up there at the top. The battle of the middle forwards yesterday was one I was really looking forward to. It's a big test. They were snubbed for Team of the Year. I think they would have taken that personally, but it's all about the team game of winning. And big challenge yesterday against Payne Haas, Flegler, and Patrick Carrigan as well, and they stood up to it. And the point you make about the tries conceded when they're on and off the field, that's something that I think Ivan Cleary may look at next year in maybe splitting that up to one coming off the bench. I think, especially now Spencer Lanyu's leaving, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Panthers go with an approach of, okay, well, we need at least one of you on the field at all times. So maybe see them split that up. But the combination, it's so brutal, it's so fierce, it's so violent. They aim to hurt you. And you see that with the way they approach every single tackle and every single collision. That, like I say, when Moses Leota comes underneath and takes on Patrick Carrigan, that was a big statement early doors.
Christ, imagine if Ivan finds a way to keep one of them on the field all the time.
Yeah. Oh, mate, their ability to have a target on their back, because it's one thing, let's say you're an outside back that is running the ball and you've got all these highlights. That's one thing. As a forward, you want to take their head off because they're an outside back and they step you. But you'd know more than anyone, the last thing most front rowers at least say before they head out is, we aren't going to let them fucking dominate us. We're going to dominate those 2 forwards. They would have that every game. And yet, although I thought the battle was quite even last night, they've never lost. I've never seen them lose the battle in a big game.
Well, I think they trust themselves. So, and that goes back to the point I'm making earlier about all the works that's been done in the week. So they trust each other, and then everybody out there, they trust them, but they trust themselves. They know whoever they go up against, I've got it in my arsenal. I've got the capability to take you on. No matter what you throw at me, I trust myself to get over the top of you and come out the other end victorious, and they do that.
Mate, it's as what Gura just said, it sucks that they don't get the accolades they do from the general public. Now, they will be now, to a degree, but if they were in Origin, it would be a different stratosphere. It adds to the folklore, and it sucks that they don't get the... Look, they do get the appreciation. It's called freaking 3 premierships in a row. That's all they care about.
And they'll go and play for New Zealand
Yeah,
as well.
for sure.
And we should look to cherish our international game. And look, it would be... in an alternative universe, you have them playing Origin, and you open up the borders for who can qualify for New South Wales and for Queensland. But I think we've got to treat that, got to make it special and exclusionary in a way.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we can trivialise it. And they've got they're proud Kiwis. Watch them dominate in the up and coming international calendar games as well. That's something to look out for. We've got some great international games coming up, and very proud Kiwis. And look, what a front row starting pairing that the Kiwis have.
And then Tarpanair at 13. But yeah, I just wish it's not necessarily for them. I know they would be extremely proud to play for New Zealand or whoever's not playing for Queensland. So I more mean I wish the public
yeah,
was appreciating them.
Well, it would give them that elevation. 100%.
Massively. Mate, you've got to shoot. But, guys, subscribe. The buy round. The not-so-round rugby league table.
That's right. First episode is All Things Media, dropping this Wednesday, and then it'll flick to Tuesday. So make sure you tune in. It's a fantastic conversation.
Mate, thanks so much for joining us, brother. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us on what was one of the most memorable grand finals. It's going to be difficult to top that. Like
my God.
You think back to 2015 and the emotions after that game.
Yeah.
I was still a current player, but I was kind of like, wow.
Yeah.
But now out of the game in a playing capacity, that's
insane.
That's the beauty of sport. And, I think back to, I said this in commentary last night. So Tyson Fury beat Deontay Wilder, like literally on the canvas. He's knocked out. He gets back up.
Yeah.
Not my favourite two footballing teams, but Liverpool in Istanbul, they come back and they beat AC Milan. Manchester United, 99. Extra time. Sorry, not extra time. Added time. 1-0 down against Barca. They come back and win it. I'm putting this Penrith Panthers victory in that same category as some of the most unbelievable sporting comebacks the world has ever seen. It was remarkable.
Incredible. Mate, thanks so much for joining us, brother.
Pleasure. Thanks for having us on.
You.
Take it easy.
Thank you. Yep, thanks to Jimmy Graham for joining us. Absolute legend. Make sure to subscribe to the Buy Round podcast. Also go to social media, the Buy Round. But yeah, back to the game. We'll stick to Panthers first. But I mean, what more is there to say about this side? It is unbelievable what they managed to achieve. And as you said, Guru, it's just the way they go about it. It's the fact that they've done it in so many different ways. It's the fact that since that second half grand final in 2020, they have won every single grand final to a degree, if you know what I mean, because they obviously came back towards the end there. I mean, we've got to speak about him off the bat, but Nathan Cleary, like, he's 25. He's 25. And his first 60 minutes were very average and even poor in defence at times. But rugby league's not about being perfect. Rugby league is about responding to imperfection. Rugby grand finals aren't about perfection, even though the Panthers were nearly perfect with the ball. Grand finals are about big moments. And that's what Cleary, he took that moment and made it one of the greatest moments of all time. You could sit there and try and nitpick this, that, or whatever about Cleary, but at the end of the day, Nathan Cleary was as single-handedly as you can be responsible for the greatest comeback in grand final history. 16 points or 18 points, or whatever. Was it 16 points?
16.
16 points is the biggest margin ever to come back from, and Cleary orchestrated it. That's stats. You cannot argue against that. And that's, as I said, grand finals are not about perfection. They're about these huge moments that legends have, and if they're going to step up to the plate or not. And Cleary stepped up. He didn't just step up and get them close. He stepped up and got them the third premiership in a row.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that stood out with me last night with Cleary, and I agree with you, mate, the first 60 minutes, I'd argue that was the worst 60 minutes of his season in a Panthers jersey. That was his worst 60 minutes. But championship minutes came and a champion stood up. And I think sometimes in rugby league we sleep on when you do things. Nathan Cleary, biggest stage, brightest lights, under the most pressure, and he delivered in those big moments. We had the, Dally medal the other day, and people are arguing over who should have got it. Respectfully to those two guys, they didn't beat a top four side all year. Nathan Cleary, tell me he's not the best player in rugby league. I don't give a shit what happens in the regular season. This guy, in the biggest moments, on the biggest stages, he delivers again. And last night, he did something that, could Joey have done that? Could some of the greats have done that? Maybe. But there's only one guy that's managed to do it.
The fact that you have to be like, yeah, I think they could do it, not they would do it, shows you that at least for his team at club level, he is a great. Like, he's won 3 comps in a row. He didn't come into a stacked roster. He built that roster. He was part of building it. He's now won 3 comps in a row. Back-to-back Dally M's. At Clubland, he's already a great, in my opinion, at Clubland. Now, obviously, we understand there's other arenas that you've got to dominate, all that kind of stuff. 25 years old, guys. Let's think about that. He's got maybe another 10 years left in his career to take care of all that stuff. But as it stands, He's already a great when it comes to clubland, in my opinion.
There is no doubt about it whatsoever. Matty, we had a few beers the other night, and he referred to him as the Michael Jordan of rugby league. And I went, you know what? That's exactly what he is. Because he gets on the big stages and he absolutely dominates. And like that's going to go down in rugby league folklore forever. That 20 minutes was incredible. Once again, I'm not sure how many players in the past could have done that before. And we've seen a lot of champions in grand finals when they're down and they're not able to get their side back into it. The greatest comeback we have ever seen. And he did it. Like there was other guys that had very good performances, but he sets up the Mosley to try. He then kicks a foot. That 40-20 was Andrew Johns all over. That was Joey all over. That was a set after points on third tackle, I think it was.
Yeah. Huge play. Huge
play. If he doesn't make it and it stays in the field of play, imagine how people would go after him.
Oh. What about the catch from Renault's dropout? That's centimetres.
Centimetres, yep.
Centimetres, this greatness, those moments. Timmy, what do you think?
Yeah, you talk, Kempy, you mentioned there about it's not all champions aren't about being perfect, and it's about moments and stepping up to the plate in these big moments. And I look back at the 2015 grand final with Jonathan Thurston, who won the Clive Churchill medal, and he, after that game, said it was probably the worst game of football I've ever played. But he snaps a field goal when the game was on the line to win it for the Cowboys and put a notch on his legacy. And Nathan Cleary did the same thing. And my favourite thing about it when we're going to look back in the future in 20, 30 years' time at the legacy of Nathan Cleary is people saying, oh, he's got the team around him, they're dominant, of course he can do it. Can he do it when they're on back foot and things are going against him? He lifted and did that. Like not only when he'd had a poor 60 minutes of footy, and any normal footballer's confidence would be down. I don't really want to. What do I do? How far can I test myself? Jerome Luai was off. His partner in crime in the halves, Isaiah Yeo, one of the best ball playing locks we've seen, was off. He lost an edge back rower, starting edge back rower in Scott Sorensen. They were down and out, dead and buried. All the momentum against him, and he, pretty well by himself, lifted them off the canvas to win him that game of footy.
This is the spine that he did the greatest ever comeback with. Mitch Kenny, Cogger, Dylan Edwards.
Dang.
Compare that to some of the other, rightly so, you could go, all right, we'll look at Thurston in the 2015 grand final with Granville, Michael Morgan, and Coote.
Yeah.
Michael Morgan was an Origin player, I think, at that stage, or he obviously went up to. But also, Thurston was an incredible moment and probably etched himself in immortality. That was just one drop goal. We're talking about 20 minutes of the greatest rugby league you'll ever see in a grand final from a 7.
That's a really, Thurston had that incredible moment, but he doesn't have that moment without Michael Morgan coming up with, in my opinion, probably the greatest player of all time.
Nice.
But Cleary did it all himself. Cleary did it all himself after Ezra Mam, for the first time in 3 years, punched Penrith in the face and said, let's see how you respond. And, I'll be the first to admit, when I was sitting there and Ezra Mam scored his third try, I thought, I don't know if they can come back from this. I didn't know if they were going to be able to. I genuinely didn't. And for them to turn it around in the short space of time they did. And it's not like, as you said, it's not like Brisbane just folded.
No, they
And
didn't.
I thought Kobe Hetherington made one of the best tackles I've ever seen to stop a try.
Like, if we win, that tackle goes down in folklore.
Forever.
Like, it's Fisher-Harris one-on-one on your line.
Yeah, it would be like Scotty Sattler sort of areas.
Yeah.
For people that understand rugby league,
Yeah.
it would be. It was such a big tackle in that moment. And, as I said, I think Cleary was very average for 60 minutes. His last 20 minutes absolutely defined him. Mate, I've seen a lot of people sort of say, oh, you can't give him a Clive because he had a shit 60 minutes.
Please.
Just keep in mind, Joey lost his second half of his Clive Churchill winning game 24-0. No one talks about it.
Yeah, of course they don't. Because we remember
And
the
in
moments.
30 years' time, Nath will be the same.
Yeah.
But just appreciate what's in front of you
Oh,
right now.
just even for the people that just don't want to like Cleary, just appreciate it. Because I guarantee in 20 years, you'll be telling your son or your daughter about Nathan Cleary. I can guarantee you will.
Can you imagine what was going through Nathan Cleary's head? Again, you talk about champions and champion mentality. All this pressure on him and this talk of, it doesn't lift in big games and big moments and all that. And for 60 minutes, he's had one of the worst games of his career. Notably, defensively, he missed some poor tackles, got absolutely scorched by Reece Walsh. And he came back from that and went, I'm going to lift my team off the canvas and win us this game off my own back. What's going through your head when you do that?
Mate, absolutely. And also, it wasn't like, he was the third pass before a try. No, line break himself inside to Leota. 40-20, then he supports on the inside. I'm pretty sure, did he score? Yeah, scores a try. But then the match-winning try is him individually just going, seeing a spot, boom, 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 try it, thanks for coming.
Even the probably the least impact he had in any of the 3 tries was Stephen Crichton's brilliant solo effort. You've still got Nathan Cleary going, all right, who's the strike weapon in this team that we need to stand up and who does in the big game? Stephen Crichton. And who got him the ball one-on-one and got him some space to allow him to do that? Yeah. Nathan Cleary.
And so simple. It was as simple as identifying, I trust my bloke to have a big moment. Like, I trust Critter, he's going to do something special. And we'll talk about Critter's last friggin' 20 minutes because, what the hell? He had 5 big moments. It was unbelievable. So we'll talk about that. But yeah, Nathan Cleary, take a bow. It is unbelievable what we are witnessing. He deserves everything that he gets. And on top of all of that, he is such a humble, down-to-earth bloke that deserves, as I just said, deserves everything he can. And what an incredible moment for Penrith, for the Ivan Cleary family, for the Cleary family as well. Again, I speak about it all the time, Guru, and you were there as well. And same with you, Timmy. Mate, 2019, people were calling for both of their heads. They were saying, get these bloody pretenders out of our club. They've terrorised and ruined our club. That was the yarn. Ivan Cleary's spoken about how he was starting to doubt whether he was the right man for the job. And now look where they are. We like to look at the end result and be like, oh, look at all the Origin players are there. Look at all the success they've had. It's a stacked roster. Oi, bruh, it was not a stacked roster. People were asking for them both to get sacked in 2019. It is incredible what they've achieved.
You just mentioned how much of a nice, humble kid he is and everything, Nathan. I told Tim this story on Friday. They won the 2021 grand final. I had him on my podcast about 3 or 4 weeks later. He's just a premiership-winning captain who won a Clive Churchill medal, young guy. Remember at that stage, he was 22 years old, on top of the world. And I had my podcast, did it via Zoom, and I remember during the podcast, it dropped out. And I sort of went, oh my God, no fucking way, I can't believe this, blah, blah, blah. So I'm trying to sort it out and everything, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, had my phone next to me, it was face down. Picked up my phone. I had about 3 missed calls from Nath. I eventually answered because I wasn't looking at it. And it was, mate, I'm so sorry. Are you good? Can we go again? Can we do it? My thing died. I'm so sorry. And I'm sitting there going, you might be the greatest player of all time. You don't know me from a bar of fucking soap.
Yeah.
He's rang me 3 or 4 times in that moment to apologise. He could have quite easily gone, oh, well, thing died. I'll call it a day and go to the beach.
Yeah. Just want a premiership.
But that's the sort of guy that Nath is. And you can all hate him and you can all, watch things and gain an impression on him. He is such a nice guy. And as you said, just a genuine, humble kid that is just starting to own big moments.
It's absolutely incredible. I said on the Morning Glory show with Matty Johns that, and Matty brought it up how, it does seem like Nathan Cleary is almost starting to get his own swagger, his own belief. Whereas you could see in the last couple of years, he didn't really sit well with him that he was great. And, I said on the show that I felt like heading into this final series, you could see that he had accepted the mantle of greatness almost, that he had accepted that, okay, everyone keeps saying it, but now I believe it. And also, not only do I believe it, I'm comfortable with it. And that's the moment that he delivered. Can you
imagine the confidence he's going into next season with? That Brisbane side, I said it last night on social media, I reckon they beat a lot of teams in the past.
Yeah.
And they are the first team to really give them a shake on that very big stage. And they dominated the first half. They went in only up by 2 points. That can rattle your head a little bit. They then came out, 5'8", scored 3 tries in 12 minutes or whatever, down 16 points. Now Nath knows, geez, I can overcome that.
It's insane.
When he scored that final try, the match winner, I saw it and my initial reaction was too easy. I'm like, someone's gone down or there's a lead run, knock someone over because he went through too easy. There was too much space. The first replay was the face-on one. There wasn't a lead runner. There was no one there. Yeah. It was just footwork and seeing a gap open up. And wasn't it just a classic moment from a great where it just looks like everyone else is in slow motion and he's got all the time in the world. And it was such a special moment for me to see Nath score that try. There was no one within QE of him, which is just represents where he is right now in rugby league.
And also, what I look, I can't say I loved about the moment, but what I appreciated about the moment was the fact that what's the one knock that is Cleary? Like the one knock on Cleary is too structured. Too structured, doesn't have the flair of a Joey or a Thurston. He doesn't have that pizzazz, the je ne sais quoi. He doesn't have that. That's the knock. Have you ever heard someone say that in rugby league? That Cleary doesn't have the je ne sais quoi? You've never heard that?
Who are you?
But what I loved about that try,
No, just pass this. What is je ne sais quoi?
something special, Google it. I think it was like that bit of magic.
How on earth do I spell that?
It's a
How are
French
you gonna
saying
spell
for
it?
something special. I bet you it comes out je ne sais quoi.
Okay.
Look, I probably fucking butchered it.
For
Anyway,
10% off, Menulog code of the week. Je ne sais quoi.
but what I loved about that try is that knock of like, oh, too structured. It's the one like nonsense throw out line that people try to say to not credit Cleary for everything he's done. But that try that came purely off his structure because it came from fatigue. It came from his game plan of turning blokes under, trusting eventually their forwards are going to be so tired they're going to make a mistake. It wasn't crazy footwork. It wasn't crazy strength. It was fatigued back rowers and forwards that had been tackling their asses off all day due to his game plan that he implemented that gave him the match winner. So the huge cutout ball that like the crazy players can throw, even though we know Cleary can throw that gets intercepted or goes out over the sideline. He did the 1%er play, which was fatigue him, step in the inside, score a try to win the game. That's what you call. That's the benefit of being Nathan Cleary. That's what he can offer you is a win rate of 85% in a whole season, dominance over a 4-year period. Because what's the negative that comes with players that have that kind of extra bit of magic? The negative is they can have down years because it just isn't clicking for them. I mean, a perfect example, Reece Walsh, even though he still had some big moments, there were moments that just didn't work for him. And that's the thing. You'll see the highlights of Reece, and look, Reece's so young. I didn't think he played badly at all. I thought he played solidly with a mixed bag. He'll learn so much from this. But that's what you get with those highlight reel players is that they can have those moments that just the ball goes a few meters too deep or a few meters too short. With Cleary, is what you get 3 freaking premierships in a row and a match winner. What do you got there, Matty?
Je ne sais quoi. A pleasing quality that cannot be exactly named or described.
That's what you come here for. You come here for deep analysis of rugby league, baby. But that's what I loved about the try.
And what it was, Kempy, it was crazy vision. He goes there and said there were no lead runners, there was no set-up play or anything. It was Jordan Ricky at marker. Ricky goes the wrong way. I think Billy Walters sort of overcommitted a little bit. And just in the bottom right of his eye, because he was going left, going down that short side, bottom right, he saw Ricky miss his mark, and he's gone bang, and just zeroed in on that big gap there. Ricky didn't get across. Waltz was sort of scrambling across. Walters, I should say, went a little bit too far.
I think it's Catewell.
Kate went a little bit too far, and Cleary's just seen that little gap open up and go bang.
Yeah. And imagine if he gets tackled there, game could be over because you're at the 4-minute mark, 3-minute mark. Broncos get the ball maybe the next play because he's tackled.
He'd have been shot.
And yet he still made the play. Huge.
It's understanding the moment.
It's just, fuck. It is so good to see. And as I said, we just witnessed greatness. And look, obviously I know I've been seeing all the comments of people putting shit on me. Hey, winners win, baby. You guys earned it. Penrith fans, enjoy it.
Shout out to you, Kempy. Not that I expect you to not to be here or anything, but I know how much last night would have meant to you, and fuck, it's a good knock to
Can I be honest?
face up today.
And this is going to sound ridiculous, but I actually woke up with a really bad tummy ache, and I was like, oh, fuck. Please don't get worse, because anyone's going to think I'm chucking a sickie because I'm too much of a coward to come and face the music.
You can't be doing that.
So, sorest belly ever. It's like, oh, my belly's sore, Guru. I said, you know what? This is my grand final, Guru. This is my Cleary moment. This is my short ball.
This is your je ne sais quoi moment.
Je ne sais quoi.
Mate, we were lucky enough. Me and Timmy went to the grand final luncheon the other day, and we ended up worming our way into A1 seats by the end of it. And when we were sitting there, Andrew Johns was on stage talking.
Oh, stop it.
And, I was sitting there just being the rugby league nerd I am. There was 5 legends on the stage talking. I just couldn't take my eyes off Joey, right? Just watching how he handles himself and how he talks and just the way he spoke about Nath. You could just tell Joey knows what's there, doesn't he? And I remember I turned to him and I go, man, I couldn't take my eyes off Joey. And he goes, neither could I. I didn't look at anyone else. But the way he spoke about Nath, just greatness recognised.
Oh,
Greatness.
look, all the greats know that he's going to be great.
He loves him, and he also knows that the next 10 Origin series are in his hands for the Blues.
Yes, trying to wrap him in there to get him some confidence. You know what's so funny is, and we're guilty of it too, I think, because we see all the comments, and that's obviously going to get into our heads, and so we're always qualifying it, being like, he's still got to do it in Origin. But at the end of the day, guys, we're talking about a 25-year-old with 3 premierships, 3 Origin series, 2 Clive Churchills, and current 7 for Australia. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could almost, as I said, if you want to put him into that immortality chat, if he goes out and just dominates an Origin and, you know, has a good rest of his career, for sure. But right now, there's not much more the kid can do as a 25-year-old to be considered great.
And I think the other thing you need to consider as well is that, you know, Joey, he won his first premiership as captain in 2001, you know, early 30s, late 20s. You know, Brad Fittler won his first premiership as a captain in the year 30, age 32 or something. Now he's 25. He's captained 3 premierships.
Yeah, 4 grand finals, a few minor premierships.
It's unbelievable. This has literally been his team the entire way. I point it out all the time. It still blows me away. Like 2019, James Maloney leaves. You couldn't be successful without James Maloney for 10 years.
You like cursed clubs on the way out somehow.
2020, their 2 most experienced players leave, and their captain, James Tamu and Josh Mansell. The keys were handed to these young kids and said, let's see what you can do. You've just had your heart broken by Cameron Smith. Let's see how you respond to it. I mean, fuck. Have a look at the last 2 teams that the Panthers played in grand finals. Parramatta didn't make the finals this year, nor did South Sydney. Not only is it not easy to stay relevant, it's impossible to stay at the top, and they've done it time and time again.
He lost Api Coruscant and Viliami Kikau at the end of last season. Like, this is, I mean, it's amazing. So massive congratulations to Cleary, and it seriously couldn't happen to a better bloke. He is such a good kid, and yeah, just enjoy it, everyone. We are witnessing greatness. In 20 years' time, we'll be telling our kids about the moment we saw Nathan Cleary put on the best 20 minutes you'll ever see in a rugby league grand final. Like, that's what we will be saying. Like, you go and watch NRL on 9, go and watch Thurston reacting to it. So Thurston, the bloke that did what he did in 2015, he's sitting there watching Cleary going, what the fuck's going on? His head's exploding. He needed to put his headgear on nearly. So amazing stuff from Cleary. Now let's get into some other big players for the Panthers. I think I made a mistake earlier. I said back-to-back Clive Churchills. Is it back-to-back or did Edwards
2 and
last
3
year?
years.
So, yeah, so Edwards last year and then he was the year before.
Yep. Which puts him in an elite class of Slater, Norm Prove, and Bradley Clyde. Like, I think it's only 6 guys to ever do it before.
Jeez, doesn't it?
He's 25 years old.
Doesn't it, like, I know Cleary would have been about 22 or 23 or whatever, but doesn't it put like Cam Smith Storm situation? You just go, bruh, are you working on a different fucking plane than us? Are you in a different dimension? The fact that he could somehow beat this Penrith side, and I get it, they were a couple of years earlier. You know, the ultimate question would be, could you imagine if they played today?
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine?
And you know what, that's honestly is one of my big fears with Nathan. I'm sure it will come, but I'm not sure where that challenge is going to come from. And you know what? If he was separated from Cam Smith by 20 years, it doesn't matter as much. But because Cam had his last shot in his last game and won it over Nathan, it's always going to leave that question mark. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like for boxing fans that are listening, so Floyd Mayweather fought Canelo Alvarez when he was like 23 or something.
Yeah.
And he just schooled him. Like, Floyd Mayweather absolutely schooled him. And so he'll always have that, mate, took you to absolute school. But the question always remains is, you know, if Canelo, now I think Floyd would beat him anyway, but as you said, like, if he faced him at his peak, what would it be like? I would still just somehow give Cam Smith the nod. I don't know how he would do it, but he would just find a way. But I just think that going into that game, though, it'd be like a 50-50 battle. Like.
And the terrifying thing is, I think we're 3 years off Cleary's peak.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is the terrifying thing. Like, everything tells us that when halves hit 29 onwards, that's when they played their best footy. That's when Cronk played his best footy. Freddie, Joey, all of these legends we're talking about.
Cherry Evans is like 34, and you could argue he's in the form of his career just because he understands the game and he's got it on.
My biggest concern for Cleary, and this is no disrespect to any other players, like I was a player, my biggest concern is he gets bored. Like, but think about it. Let's say he's won another 2 premierships over the next 3 or 4 years. So he's won 5 premierships and he has his origin moment. Like
World Cup done.
World Cup's done. Like okay, what's the next challenge for a guy like Cleary? Now, I think what's in Cleary's favour is he's a student of the game. So even if he was to retire tomorrow, he'd probably become a coach, I reckon. And so that's probably what's going to keep him in it. But in 5 years, he could have another 2 premierships, another 2 or 3 Origin series. Like, where do you go?
I'll tell you what could be something, and I was thinking about it last night. Whether it plays out, I've got no idea. But wouldn't it be special if in 3 or 4 years we're talking about Ivan Cleary coaching the Panthers, Nath at 7, his younger brother Jet's coming through the grades as well.
Oh, really? Talk about pressure. Oh, my God.
Heaps of pressure for sure. But, like, imagine, and you just made me think about, imagine in 30 years' time if we're talking about Nath as a coach following in Ivan's footsteps again.
Oh, mate. They may as well rename it Penrith Clearys.
Because Jets are half 2.
Yeah.
And
he's a
like
5'8".
killing the lower grades.
Yeah, I think he only played Harold Matson SG ball this year. He might have played SG ball the back end of the season, but very talented. I think the Warriors tried to get him over there to develop him as well. So
imagine him coming up and partnering Nath in 3 or 4 years. 5 years.
Could you imagine?
Oh my God.
And so what? Nath would only be like 28 by then.
Yeah.
Oh, stop it.
like, yeah, they could play 5 or 6 years together.
There's got to be a rule. NRL, make a rule that only 2 siblings allowed in one team. So we've got the Ivan, relations.
Manly's in a bit of trouble.
Okay, let's talk about some other players. And please, just want to be clear, we're not saying Cleary was the only guy that did incredible things this night. We're just saying, when you're speaking about him, I want to talk about 2 other blokes who did something incredible. James Fisher-Harris and Leota were absolutely phenomenal last night. If you said to me in their 4th grand final, they will be at their best, I would have said you're crazy, because there's no way front rowers can put their bodies to what they've put their bodies through over the last 4 years and be the most explosive, the most aggressive, the most dominant. Sorry, maybe not the most dominant, because I do think Broncos, Haas, Carrigan, and Flegler did fight really well, but the most explosive, the most aggressive, and to play, I reckon that's Leota and Fisher-Harris' best grand final performance. I actually think it's even better than their performance last year against the Eels. That's how good I think they played, because they were up against, don't get me wrong, Paolo, RCG, really, really good players, but didn't play that well in the grand final. Whereas Fisher-Harris and Leota went up against generational forwards that I think a lot of people would say individually could outplay them, and yet they still got the job done. They still got the job done and stood out. It was an incredible performance by Fisher-Harris and Leota.
The thing that stands out to me is playing in the front row for 4 grand finals in a row. Like I tried to ask Jimmy that earlier, but because he's wired like these guys completely differently, he just sort of went, that's what you do. That's what I do. So that's what guys like us do that are warriors. And I'm sitting here trying to get something. For Fish and Leota to do what they've done over the last few years. And once again, go back to 2020, their captain was James Tarman, one of the most experienced front rowers in our game. He leaves and these 2 just step up and just take it to a brand new level.
Yeah, it is absolutely amazing. Like their performance in defence, in attack, they're ruthless. Like every run was the last run of their lives. Like for Leota to be sprinting up the middle of the field in the 60th minute to get an inside ball is nothing short of incredible. Like we're talking about a huge bopper, like a big, big front rower, and he's sprinting up the middle of the field, beating cover players. Like no one got close to him.
He's no right to do that. What an unbelievable play.
A front row in a grand final in the 60th minute is sprinting up the middle of the field, getting an inside ball from Cleary. That's, if Cleary didn't have his incredible 20 minutes, that's the moment of the game. It's a fronty up the middle, gassing everyone for a try. If he doesn't chase there was no other Panthers players around. Think about that. Out of the best, the toughest, the grittiest, Panthers, one of the toughest sides we've ever seen play rugby league. Even out of all of them, there were no chasers. But there was one dog down the middle. It was Leota. That is nothing short of incredible. Incredible.
And I'm sure, we obviously had the Dally M Awards the other night. Payne Haas and AFB, rightly so, took it out. But, geez, I'm sure when those boys got those awards, I'm sure Ivan, if he was at the table with them, would have tapped those 2 under the table and gone, they've ignored you again.
Yeah. Once again.
Slept on you again.
Yep. Didn't get would have they even been in the top 20 votes? And I get it. Cleary wins a lot of them, but they just, think about this platform. Cleary, incredible 20 minutes, best credits we've ever seen. The Panthers forward pack and the backs laid a 97% completion rate platform for for Nathan Cleary. You couldn't, like, if someone said to you, it's a fairy tale and they complete it 97%, you'd say, mate, that's a shit fairy tale because there's no connection to reality. These guys just did that against one of the most explosive forward packs we've ever seen.
And, obviously, as we just said, that they didn't get the Dally M votes. One that stood out for me was they didn't get it in the RLPA team either.
True.
And once again, if I'm Ivan, I would have pointed out, hey, you blokes have dominated the biggest stages 3 years on the trot now. Your minor premiers, again, after losing Appy, losing Kick-Out, every reason we were meant to fall apart, and we win because of the platform you guys lay, I reckon it would have just got them so fired up.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about, like, a player like Payne Haas or Pat Carrigan, they're stat sheet fillers, and they're incredible footballers. And you often refer to Liam Martin as being, he doesn't have the stats that look like a superstar. And Fisher Harris and Leota are the exact same as well, but the intensity at the start of this game, was it Leota that ran over the top of Carrigan?
Paddy,
knocked him on his ass, and then Martin flew out of the line and floored, I think, Herbie for a knock on, and then just how fired up I was. Talking about dogs on top of him, just screaming at him. And, like, there's not a stat for that, but that is the intensity and why they get off these fast starts and why everyone gets behind them.
By the way, for us New South Wales fans out there, enjoy that moment with Pat Carrigan, because I don't reckon you'll ever see it again.
It had real Ockenball Cam Smith vibes to it, didn't it? The one and only time Cam Smith got run over the top of in his career twice by Jaden Ockenball.
I will say, though, I thought that, there's different kinds of toughness, and I thought the Broncos showed so much grit, especially Paddy Carrigan. Getting bumped like that, still try to put some good shots on Fisher Harris, still kept turning up. He may not be as big and imposing as a guy like Leota, but his toughness comes in a different kind of category. And even said, as soon as he got bumped, I said to Maddie, Carrigan's not the first 20-minute guy that's going to shot someone. Yep. He's the guy in the 70th minute or the 60th minute.
He's a stayer.
That's going to make the play.
Yep.
And I felt like he did do that in defence at least. And that's what we'll get to the Broncos, but that's what I admire so much about that forward pack is that very rarely do you get guys that are so athletically explosive that you're just like, we've never seen forwards like this before, mixed in with toughness to match the toughest forward pack we've arguably ever seen. And I think the Broncos really did match them there, but we'll get to the Broncos eventually. Fisher Harris too, like some of his runs, they just released so much pressure for the Panthers. And when you look at his stats, 8 tackle breaks in the front row as a forward that's not really known for his tackle breaks. He does get tackle breaks, but not necessarily known for it. In 58 minutes, he had 20 runs, 170 metres, 40 post contact, 8 tackle breaks, 27 tackles, no errors. And then you've got Leota in 47 minutes, a try, 163 metres, 2 tackle breaks, 19 tackles, no errors. It's just...
Isn't it funny? You look back, like literally a year ago today, Fisher Harris is on that stage saying we're the greatest Panthers team of all time. Everyone throws their arms up, disrespectful. Can't believe he'd say that. Potentially the greatest team ever.
Yeah. And I saw a few of their posts saying undisputed. And so I wonder whether that was a theme for them this year of almost like an undisputed champion, like a boxer that's going for belts.
I actually just read the article. So they got a belt made for the final series because they wanted to be the undisputed 3-time champs.
No rugby league guys, come on. Thanks. That's why you listen, guys. That's why you listen. Je ne sais quoi is what we bring to the podcast game. And so that mentality of like, he's what I love about, like, look, the Penrith Panthers, yeah, they got swag. Yeah, they say stuff that's very cocky or confident. They back it up constantly. If you don't like it, do something about it. It's that simple. It is that simple. He said we're the best Panthers sides ever. Comes out and they have one of the greatest grand finals wins ever. Like against Payne Haas and Paddy Carrigan and Flegler. Payne Haas, who had one of the great knocks all time, and they still managed to get the job done. It's nothing. It's unbelievable what we're witnessing. Unbelievable.
We said it pre-game. Well, you said it pre-game actually, and it was a very good point. And I hope it's true that these two teams just become the Roosters and the Storm of the next 10 years.
Yeah. I think, look, the key for the Broncos, and we'll get into it, but the key for the Broncos is just finding someone to replace Renault. If they can get someone to replace Renault, then we'll see this battle for the next 5 years or so, I reckon.
Geez, if you are the Dolphins sitting there watching that grand final last night, watching Herbie and Fleet, I know we'll get to them, but I just thought those two were just so impressive in that game.
Fucking unbelievable, man.
And once again, say it all the time, it's all good and well to do it in the regular season, but to do it on the biggest stage like that, unbelievable.
Yeah. Some other guys that played incredible. I mean, look, most across the board, you had some really good performances from the Panthers, but Stephen Crichton, he didn't have his intercept. Obviously, he had that try, but it wasn't actually the try that I think was his biggest moments. It was the 2 repeat sets with the boot. That changed the game.
That repeat set that he got from 30 metres out, just go back and watch it. That was off an offload in broken play, and he was standing on the tram line, dropped it on his left foot to understand the moment and to get that touch on the ball. It's incredible.
Yeah, it just keeps so much pressure. Broncos were fighting their way back into it, and then just repeat set. And then all of a sudden, the Broncos are like, okay, this little bit of momentum before half time, we don't have it anymore. It's like unbelievable, the amount of times. And then he got another repeat set in the second half as well.
Yep.
With a kick.
Yeah, shorter one. Yep.
And you just
They were both in the last 20 minutes.
Wasn't there one that we saw that was in the first half as well, the longer one? Or am I thinking
the longer one was...
Isaac Tungo did one in the first half.
Oh, was that Tungo that did in the first half?
Yeah, they forced
nudge
4 dropouts, and none of them were clear. It was the 2 you said, and Kenny forced one as well.
Okay, so he
Remember,
had 2
Kenny kicked it off the ground, and that's when Reece Walsh ran out.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
right, yep.
So they're forced dropouts from pretty much both their centres.
Yep.
So Tungo in the first half,
Yep.
and then Critter twice in the second half.
I think Critter's one from 35 out was maybe on 4th tackle as well, where he just saw the space and went, I'll run him behind the line.
Either way, it's just phenomenal. Genuine, huge play. And what's incredible about Critter is he's had huge plays in all different areas of the game. Intercepts, tries, conversions, drop goals, kicking. It's unbelievable how many times this guy delivers on the big stage.
I'll tell you the other one that was a big play by him, and it was a kick that he got wrong. I don't know what it looked like to you live, but when Selwyn Cobbo snatched that ball, I had visions back to when we were at Magic Round, and I watched him take it all the way to the house, and I just went, oh my God, and then Critter just swarmed him. That was a big defensive play there too.
Mate. It is scary. Okay, so what is he, 23 or whatever? Is there an argument to be made he's had the most big plays or equal to the most big plays of other club players that have played their whole careers that are greats?
I think well and truly.
At 23 years old, he's had what? It's 3. So he's had World Cup huge plays, 2 or 3 huge grand final plays now. Some of the greatest in our game go their whole career and only have that many big plays in huge games.
And the way that Nathan Jerome just had the confidence on last tackle to just shift him the ball, just give it to him. The only other centre I've seen like that before is probably Jamie Lyon. And Manly just go, whoosh, 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 you'll be able to get us a repeat set here.
What about Willie Tonga? I love Willie Tonga.
Oh, the great shimmy.
Yeah.
One of the great shimmies all time.
Footwork.
Oh, mate, he had great footwork. But yeah, Stephen Crichton, he is something special. And to think how young he is and the amount of big moments he's had. And again, it really drives home the point of, and look, he gets through a bunch of work, so it's not to say he doesn't. But he had 10 runs. But sometimes you need a Ferrari in your outside backs that you just throw the ball to and you go, bruh, just do your job. And your job is to make something happen. And he does it all the time, literally all the time.
The try he scored, second last one to get him right back into the game, that was one of the great grand final moments, and it was probably about the 5th biggest thing that happened in that game.
It's so true.
There was so many moments.
Yeah. And that was purely individual brilliance. It was just an early ball, hold Stags up enough to get the outside fend, and also strength. He fended him, and then his body, kind of moved in a way where it looked like he was not going to be able to put the ball down. He just twisted himself back around, bang.
Especially sometimes with Stags, you can tell in the opening minutes whether he's on or he's off. Christ, he was on last night, Stags. He was when Stags is physical, he's on, and that was probably the most physical I've seen him last night. I thought he was very good. He obviously had a couple of errors here and there, but Christ, some of his the one that he returned at the in goals. But yeah, you could just tell Stags was on, and Critter still just made him look silly on that one.
And when you look at the game as a whole, if you take the kicks out, did he really have that much damage in attack? Was he Was he really threatening the line? Like, not really that much. But then the moment arrives where, mate, we just need that one big play out here. He just goes, sweet, gotcha.
And I would imagine like that big play where he kicked from 30 metres out, like I would imagine when you're a player and it's fourth tackle, you've got him 30 metres out, you're going, okay, we've survived this set. Then he pulls out something like that.
Oh, so demoralising.
And you just know you can't defend it, you can't do anything about it. He's just simply that good that he can do stuff like that.
Yeah. Phenomenal, seriously phenomenal. And like he's almost making the argument for, don't move him from the centres, because even though you've got to look at who you've got at the Bulldogs, and we'll get into this later in the year when we do the season review, but like if you can affect games this much from centre, and look, I understand the Bulldogs are a totally different outfit to the Panthers, but it's like, shit, do you move him from centre when he's doing this all the time? I guess you have to, but far out, that's a loss for the centre brigade in the NRL. When it comes to seeing centres do exciting things, geez, that's a loss.
For sure.
Geez, it's a loss. Yeah, so I mean, like, what else is there to say? He had 40 kicking metres. That's so funny. 3 kicks, 40 kicking metres. 9 tackles, only 1 missed. A line break. So, like, as I said, like, you look at the stats and you go, yeah, okay. But you actually watch the game and you go, well, they don't win it without Crichton on the field. They genuinely don't win it without Crichton on the field.
Can we talk about Carmichael Edwards?
Oh my God, seriously.
God, that was incredible last night.
Mate, we spoke about it a little bit in the team of the week, but as I said, what I love the most about it, there could have been a tendency for him to go, okay, everyone keeps talking about this Reece Walsh superstar, and everyone keeps saying, I'm just this boring fullback that gets through work, and Reece Walsh is the showstopper, and you know the NRL has come out and said they want Reece to be a world superstar and all this kind of stuff, which is like fair enough. I agree, because Reece is a big superstar and he's a gun player. What I loved about Ed was there wasn't a single second where he tried to go, oh, I can do that too. He said, no. I'm just going to double down on what makes me a great fullback and get through my work and do my job to win a premiership. And he did exactly that. Like, again, the amount of times where they needed a big carry, and I said one of my biggest concerns for the Broncos is guys like Edwards that are really strong in contact, but they also have footwork. And how many times did you see bounce off a tackle, slide through, and then another Broncos player had to come in and cover his run? He was absolutely phenomenal. And to talk about, consistent performances in grand finals, like, it doesn't get much more consistent than Edwards.
I think Jimmy made the point before that play where Tariva had to knock the ball in, almost a 40-20, and then Edwards returns it. 10 metres, hits contact, and then he just always goes for those extra 5-6 metres every single time. His ability to get his nose through every single contact he goes into, I don't know if there's anyone better in the game at it, as far as outside backs. Like,
he ran for 306 metres. Do you remember a few years ago when to run for 300 metres, like when two of us, a Sheck would do it, and you just go, this is incredible? He's just done it in another grand final.
Yeah, and it's not even being talked about because there's so many big things happened. Like, if it was a normal grand final, everyone would be talking about the 300 metres that Dylan Edwards ran.
And that, like, we mentioned earlier in the show just now, like the Walsh versus Edwards and how different players they are. And Walsh had his flashy moments, as he always invariably will do, but, he was exposed in a few different areas, a few concerns we had about being early on in his career, being a rookie, or essentially a rookie. Dylan Edwards, just Mr. Reliable, 300 plus metres, no mistakes. He's just a coach's gift, isn't he?
Oh, absolute dream of a player. Oh. Because you've got a game plan, you're like, Dylan, I just need you to do exactly what is the game plan. And he's going to do that. He's going to do that. And now, he's so humble, Dylan Edwards, that he probably wouldn't care. But again, the knock always on Dylan Edwards is, bit no frills, doesn't have that extra kind of gear in him or whatever. And I understand it. And I'm of the mind in rep footy that you probably do need a fullback that maybe has a bit of ball playing because Origin is so hectic. But at the same time, that's 3 premierships now. So you can take your fucking pizzazz and shove it up your ass because I've got 3 rings, bruh. Even though he's so humble that he wouldn't do that. But at the end of the day, it's the truth. Yeah. It's the truth. So it's like, what can you say to that? There's nothing to say.
He's incredible.
He's so good. Okay, another guy I want to talk about in the Panthers side.
Just before you do, just as you just said, remember when Roger Tavares was running for those 300 metres, blowing everyone away? That unbelievable season that Roger had where metres are insane, he averaged 200 metres that season. Dylan Edwards just did 300 in a grand final.
Far out. That is actually insane. And they weren't like selfish shit carries either. You know, they weren't stat pad or get in the way or like, bro, pass the ball. They were needed, much needed at the right time carries. Another bloke I want to shout out, Jack Cogger. When he came on was phenomenal. Phenomenal for the Panthers. The amount of, like, as soon as he came on, all I remember seeing is just that back of that 14 jersey from where we're sitting and just making me think, like, you could see that the Broncos' defensive line was just like, oh, shit, like, this is because Jerome Luai was quiet and clearly injured. So there wasn't really a threat from Luai that much in the game. You could see in the first half, Broncos seemed pretty comfortable defending it. As soon as Cogger came on, and look, we're talking about a bloke that literally needs shoulder surgery and 4 weeks ago had it popped out. So, of course, he's going to be a bit quiet. He did say on his Instagram, guess who has to go to work today? And I was like, damn, Jerome. That's me, bro. I've got to go to work.
Yeah, it's public holiday. There's 3 blokes in Australia working today. And you're looking at 4, I should say. And you're looking at them.
Damn, bro. Well, you got to be so mean, Jerome. First you beat my team in the grand final, then I got to go to work. Oh, man. But, yeah, so, of course, Luai, like, is going to be a little bit quiet. He's clearly not all there with his shoulder. I actually think he did really well to just be quiet. You know, he didn't have any big bad errors, and he wasn't a passenger in regards to like had some misses in defence or whatever. But when Cogger came on, you could see the Broncos defensive line go, oh shit, like there's an extra threat here. You could see the anxiety in there, making decisions, and I thought Jack Cogger saved his best game ever, or at least his best minutes ever for a grand final. I thought he was phenomenal.
Honestly, 48 hours ago, I would have told you that I wouldn't have picked him in the 7-0. I would have gone for Tyrone Peachy. I'm now sitting here going, like, and it will sound over the top, but like, he's a grand final hero. They do not win that grand final without him. He completely changed the way the Panthers attacked in that last 20 minutes, and he was the key that unlocked Nath Cleary.
He gave Cleary space.
Because Nath Cleary didn't have to be the first receiver. He could play out the back and play his natural game. And, you know, I've said it a few times, but watching how Nath Cleary played with someone else taking the lead like that, makes you wonder what could happen over the next few years.
Yeah. And I think people go, oh, come on, bro. Like, he came on in the 51st minute, first of all. The score before he came on, they got a penalty goal and an absolutely fluky drop kick. So basically, before he came on, they were unable to score points against the Broncos. Now, I understand that they were fatigued at the end of the Broncos, but at the end of the day, after he came on, they scored 3 tries. It's that simple. So Cleary isn't able to do what he does if Cogger didn't come on and say, bro, let me take the first receiver, let me take care of all the shit stuff in the middle. We need you to do something great.
And he came on when the Broncos were fatigued, but he also came on when the Broncos had all the momentum in a grand final, which like pretty well offsets it in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what are the 2 attributes that we talk about time and time again when we talk about halves? It's playing direct, straightening out the attack, and playing deep into the line before you give the pass. And the 2 passes he threw to Nathan Cleary before he produced his magic were both Cogger doing those 2 things brilliantly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you think Luai coming off was... do you think it was a decision from Ivan Cleary saying, we're not looking threatening in attack, we're not looking like cracking them, and I'm going to take Luai off. Clearly he's got the hampered shoulder and we need to inject something new into this? Or do you think it was purely a Luai injury that's gone, he's got to come off?
I think it's a mixture of both. I think that Ivan Cleary knew that Luai couldn't inject himself into the game the way that was needed to get the game back, you know, to win the momentum back. And so he's gone, okay, I have to change something because this Broncos defense is phenomenal, and I know Luai is under the weather, and it's just not working. Go back to that first half. The fact they could only score 8 points is crazy. They should have really been friggin' 24-0 up. Like that's how much they dominated field position. And so I think it was a mixture of both. I definitely think Ivan Cleary was thinking Luai isn't impacting the game enough. The momentum has shifted. I need to get Cogger on just to try to change things up, and it was a masterstroke.
In which case, like if that is it, and you know Luai could have stayed out there and it wasn't entirely injury impacted, it's one of the ballsiest calls you'll see from a coach in a grand final to take off the bloke who's been there and done it, already has the cohesion with his halfback and the star of the team. He's coming off 3 grand finals prior to that and 2 grand final wins and say, you're off, we're putting the little-known Jack Cogger on to do a job.
Yeah, huge call.
I'd love to hear the conversation that Cleary had with Cogger just before he went on the field, because I'm sure if you remember, 5 or 6 weeks ago we were talking about how, geez, can Penrith still win the comp if one of these halves went down, because Cogger had come in. And I said that day, I said, you know what, I would actually consider going with Jamin Salmon, because he squares up the defence unbelievably. He is so good at that, I think people sleep on it, because I hadn't seen that in Cogger before. But, mate, he came into that game last night just with a job to do, and he nailed it every single time. I'd love to, because he the games that he came in and played throughout this year, he was good, but he wasn't playing like that.
No, not like that.
Not like that at all. That was a completely different Cogger who, you know, his game was a little bit more simple. But how many times do you see halves screw that up?
Oh,
Like talk to anyone in rugby league, they'll tell you play direct. So
Yeah.
like everyone knows it.
Yeah.
How many guys do it?
Yeah.
On the biggest stage like that.
Don't panic, stay calm. Like he's coming on to a rampaging Broncos side that, you know, as we've discussed, when they complete, they're unstoppable. I think they proved that last night. When they complete, they're unstoppable.
Jack Cogger came on in the 51st minute. 52nd minute, Ezra Mam scores his second try. 54th minute, Ezra Mam scores his third try. 56th minute, Isaiah Yo's forced from the field. 58th minute, Scott Sorensen forced from the field.
Yeah.
And importantly, those tries both down the other edge, not Coggers.
Not on Cogger's edge, yeah. So,
And then Pat Carrigan comes back on the field, and then it all kicks off. Like, unbelievable.
one of the real kind of, it won't get talked about a lot because he's leaving the club, and it won't be, I guess, remembered by the wider audience. But I think Penrith Panthers fans will remember Cogger as kind of like that underdog story that just came on, did his job. Obviously not at the club next year, but they don't win the premiership if he's not there. They really don't. Cleary has to keep doing the shit work. He's not out on the edges to make the line breaks that he does. So other guys that played really well, I thought Isaiah Yo just, once again, just delivers that 8 to 9 out of 10. At his worst, maybe a 7.5 out of 10. But he's just so consistent for them and suits their game plan to a T that he never doesn't do his job. You know what I mean? And it sounds like such an obvious thing, like that's what you're supposed to do, that's what you get paid to do. But I mean, there are so many other teams that struggle to get 80 minutes of a player doing their job, let alone a guy under the brightest lights to do it for the third year in a row in a grand final and win a grand final. I thought Isaiah was really solid. Mitch Kenny through the middle, really, really solid defence for periods. I do think, though, as I said, and we'll get to the Broncos in a sec, but they did show a bit of a blueprint. But it sounds stupid to say because it's like, well, we've heard that before when we're talking about the team that won 3 comps in a row. But I do think that there were periods there where they were just way too dominant. And you can tell that by the stats. Like Cleary missed 7 tackles, Kenny missed 10 tackles. I thought Kenny's first 20 was just so good. The aggression that they showed. Who else stood out for you boys?
Just on Mitch Kenny, obviously scored the first try there. Hammy mentioned before, huge odds there. It's funny, like you go back to the 1991 grand final, and Royce Simmons scored 2 tries that day. Royce Simmons in that grand final scored his first try of the season as well, and it was the first try of that grand final, as did Mitch Kenny. And Royce Simmons scored his second try in that grand final. Ricky Stewart goes for a short dropout, and he collects it and scores. Mitch Kenny scores of a short dropout in that.
No way.
It's funny how that stuff happens in rugby league sometimes.
Yeah. So, I mean, what else is there to say? Incredible stuff from Penrith Panthers, and we're witnessing greatness. We are witnessing absolute greatness, and the really scary thing is their key players are locked up for another 2 to 3 years. They're only probably going to get better. It's amazing. It's nothing short of amazing.
I thought in this game probably the most, obviously, Panthers, they missed a lot of tackles and whatnot, but I thought that in the first half they were just so dominant, but just their last tackle plays, just nothing like what we've seen normally.
Terrible.
They were awful. And, Brisbane were obviously, their scramble was fantastic, but the amount of times on last tackle, there was one forced dropout they actually forced where it was last tackle and the ball hit the ground and Mitch Kenny just towed it off the ground. Like, you never see Penrith do that. There was a couple of times where they just turned the ball over and stuff, and I thought, geez, it's great to turn the ball over down that end, but I thought if Penrith were really ruthless and nailed their last tackle options, I think that game could have been very different because Brisbane were just hanging on and hanging on.
Cleary had 2 to 3 kicks there in that first half that just pulled up well short of the mark, in which he never misses.
Yeah.
And then there are times where they just go to ground and get tackled, and was off, wasn't
Well,
it?
there was a lot of wind. Like, it was swirling
Yeah.
quite dramatically. Not in the stands, but I think out in the field, because as soon as you left the stadium, the fucking wind was hectic.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So I think there might have been
Makes
quite a lot of
sense.
wind swirling in the stadium. Because, yeah, you're right. He was dropping them way short. And then you go, okay, what about Reece Walsh's kicks? They were like 4 or 5 metres too long. And that usually he nails them to a degree. So I think it might have been
that
swirling.
first one that Reece Walsh put dead. He kicked that from like his 40.
I know.
Yeah.
It was like 75 metres.
I know, and easy. So I think there was a swirling wind on the field because, as I said, when you left, it was like you could see clothes like fully blowing the wind and that. So incredible stuff from Penrith Panthers. And look, crazy thing is they're favourites heading into next year as well.
Yeah.
They are favourites heading into
For
2024.
4 on the trot.
The odds are already out, so they're $3.75 to win the comp next year.
That is unbelievable.
What's Brisbane are?
Brisbane are next at $4.50.
Wow.
What's the top like 4 or 6?
I'll give you the top few. So Panthers, Broncos, then it's Storm and South, equal third at $9. Then Roosters at 10. Then it goes Cowboys, Sharks, Para, etc. $3.75.
Massive congratulations to Panthers fans. Enjoy it. It is truly amazing what we're witnessing. Truly amazing. And these players deserve everything that they get. They work hard. They deliver constantly. And they do it like they always back up what they say. They never do it in a kind of roundabout way or whatever, like Fisher Harris or Leota or whatever. They'll say, we're here to have a crack. If you want to have a crack, let's do it. And they deliver every time.
You know what? Yeah, you're right. The players, they get everything that they've deserved over the last years. But for me at Penrith, like the coaches, they are just elite. They're never injured. They're always returning back from injury.
It's crazy.
Their content team is off its head. Like they are ticking so many boxes in so many areas, and they've actually got a hold on this young nursery out there. It's going to be a scary few years for rugby.
I said this a couple of years ago. The scariest thing about the Penrith Panthers is we might be witnessing a Melbourne Storm-like system in the heartland of rugby league.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the scary thing. And Ivan Cleary, take a bow because Garner selection. Kenny staying at 9. Not carrying a number 9. Not carrying a number 9 in the grand final, and your number 9 wasn't a number 9 2 years ago. Then you've got, obviously, the loss of players. I mean, we'll go even further back. Matty Burton deciding to go, sorry, mate, you're not going to get a crack here. Luai's the guy. That was, 3 years ago or two and a half years ago, whatever it was. That's a huge call that a lot of people would say, I think Burton's a better player individually than Luai. But what's the mantra been at the Penrith Panthers? It is, what is the best team to win the comp? The selections that Ivan Cleary has made are nothing, like they are, honestly, almost perfect. Like I'm trying to think of a time where I've gone, Ivan Cleary has made a poor decision. Like even a guy like, to have Garner on the bench, for example, I would have said, Hoskins, I know he dropped off a little bit at the end of the year, but he probably deserves that spot. But Ivan Cleary is so in tune with the form of his players that he's gone, go and Garner on the bench. And he nailed it. He nailed it.
Where does Ivan sit at the moment for you?
Mate, he's getting up to Trent Robinson areas for me. And maybe even just the longevity that I want to see. But he might be, he honestly might be, it might go Wayne, Bellamy, and then it's Ivan Cleary and maybe a few others.
He's been coaching longer than Trent Robinson now.
How many grand finals does Robbo have?
3.
3.
So back-to-back in 13. So
3 each,
the longevity is what I'm, as in like at the top, whereas Ivan Cleary, grand final at Warriors, a bit of a lull, and then just...
But even...
5 grand finals, 3 premierships.
Even like at the Tigers, where they finished 9th under him, Luke Brooks was half-back of the year, Dally M half-back of the year.
He's got the Warriors to a grand final. He's got the Tigers to their best season in recent memory.
In over a decade.
He's got the Panthers to, not only that first grand final they lost, but then they managed to come back and win 3 on the road, do something that that hasn't been done in 40-odd years.
How many grand finals does Robbo have? Has he made? So he's won 3.
It's 3 from 3.
He's got like 5 minor premierships or something like that, 5 or 6.
So he's 3 from 3 grand finals, and Ivan's had 5 grand finals been to, 3 of them. One was with the Warriors, one was to the Storm.
I know Ivan Cleary's mistake. One thing I do disagree with, when he dropped the beak. 2009. You'll regret that, Ivan. See, look what happened to you.
It took him a long time to recover as well. Setting
Mate.
back almost a decade.
Decade. That's called cursing. Cursing your own teammate, even though he made a fucking grand final 2 years later. But
Isn't it going to be an interesting conversation over the next few years, though?
well, like the thing with Ivan though is like, if he doesn't make another 3 or 4 grand finals before he hangs it up, I'll be shocked.
It almost gets to the point now where you have ridiculous standards as minimal for him to achieve.
Yeah.
now.
Like if he let's say in the next 5 years he makes 1 grand final, you'll be like, that's not good.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Or if in the next 10 years the Penrith Panthers win 2 premierships, I'd probably be disappointed with
Yeah.
that. But name me another coach that in 10 years you can win 2 comps that you'd be like, oh, just
I think this, don't want to be like heat of the moment call, but we're doing a podcast the day after the grand final. I think it's probably eclipsed him from Robbo for me.
Oh, I think it has too for me too.
Yeah.
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 And I think he's done it with far lesser sides than Robbo's had. Robbo's done it with 3 incredible Rooster sides. Ivan's come in with this Panther side
He built this.
that he built. He got the Warriors to a grand final. Like, Warriors don't make.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with me that separates him. You look at Robbo, and this isn't taking anything away from Robbo. Like, he's coaching at the Roosters, is what happens. But they go into the 2013 season, they buy SBW, Jenko, James Maloney. He comes into the 18-19, they buy Cooper Cronk. You look at what Ivan's managed to build with this young group of players. They're still young, and they've just won their 3rd premiership.
And to be clear, he did build it because he was at the club before he went to the Tigers. A lot of people like to just conveniently forget that part about Ivan Cleary. They're like, oh, yeah, he came in, but they were always going to be great, this roster he had. It's like, no. He was around when they were coming through under 15s, under 16s, under 17s. He was the coach of the Penrith Panthers.
So the other guy I want to give a little shout out to, and people probably forget the role that he played. You had him in here the other day. I think Phil Gould needs a shout for this too.
Oh, that,
Platform that he built here.
Longevity.
And you can give him 5-year plan, laugh and giggle at him all you want.
And I think Gus Gould's such a good example of just because you're great at what he did, incredible, the things that he put in place, but sometimes that's what you're good for there, and then someone else needs to be good for something else. And I think that like a lot of people try to say, oh, well, when he left, they started having success. You can't.
He built the foundations.
He built the foundations, and just because if he had a say, does that mean Ivan Cleary would have stayed as head coach or whatever? Maybe not, but just because he may not be good at the next step, or not even not good, but you understand because he's won comps as a coach. But in that specific moment, Ivan Cleary needed full control over the direction he wanted to take. So it's not to say Gus can't do that. It's just that's what was needed in that moment. Because I know people try to discredit Gus a bit with that.
Yep.
When he has his hands all over that. And you can hear him speak in the podcast. He says, I try to build clubs, not teams.
Yep.
I'm not trying to build a team. I'm trying to build a club. And he deserves massive praise. And all the guys out at Penrith, like, there are so many unsung heroes that we'll never know about that have brought so much joy to the area of Penrith that deserve praise. Guys that may not be at the club anymore, or they're still at the club, all the people behind the scenes that, are part of recruitment. I mean, what about their recruitment officers? Like, think about those guys that are gone, we want him at young age. Because sometimes too many options it's harder. On top of that, they had to recruit when Penrith Panthers, they weren't a heavyweight to anyone like that. Like, they were they were a side that a lot of potential, but just never seemed to kind of be able to get it together. And yet they still managed to get the best of the best when they were a side that was in and out of finals footy. It's amazing what they've done out there. Absolutely amazing. Everyone involved. Absolutely everyone involved from top to bottom. Nothing short of amazing. So enjoy it. Well earned. And that's what I love about this is that this current generation, it has been earned. Absolutely earned.
And I noticed last night in all the celebrations and everything, the content team running around with a heap of cameras. Could be one of the great docos.
Oh,
Because they have documented every single moment of this
Yep.
entire thing. Shout out to Jake and them and the content team. That's going to be something special.
Well, there's a doco from the back-to-back one called All the
Yep.
Way on Channel 9.
was
and
unreal.
It's so good. So imagine the...
And I can't wait. Obviously, the theme for that one was Top Gun. This undisputed thing. It's going to be unreal. Like, hey, what's your theme going to be for next year? Rocky 4.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Drago.
I got it. Je ne sais quoi. If they win 4 in a row and they start captioning Je ne sais quoi, we'll know where it started.
Yeah, I don't think anyone could doubt that one if they start catching me. We'll give you that.
Now, let's get to my beloved Broncos. I'm incredibly proud. Incredibly proud. I know, it's one that got away and it's all that kind of stuff, but I'm incredibly proud of the boys. There wasn't a single moment on that footy field. There wasn't a single minute where I felt that someone wasn't having a crack, didn't put in the effort. If you're going to get beaten, at least it's by one of the greatest performances we've ever seen in the history of rugby league. If you're going to get beaten in the grand final, at least it's by a team that has to complete at 97%. I thought the Brisbane Broncos, they did the Jersey proud. They did their town proud. Yes, of course, being up by 16 points is a huge lead in a grand final. But sometimes, we always forget about the losing team when we're witnessing greatness. But the Broncos played just as much a part in that greatness by lifting the standard of the grand final as high as they did as anyone else. I'm super proud of the boys. Of course, you can look at the stats and you can look at numbers, you can look at that first half for sure. But at the end of the day, what makes me so proud of them is that everything went wrong that could go wrong in that first half. They went in at halftime at 8-6 and they came out and absolutely blew the Panthers off the park when they started to complete some sets. Yes, it's disappointing. Yes, you could argue it's one that got away. But if I'm being honest, they remind me a lot of the Penrith Panthers in their first grand final, where it's just attack. We're young, we believe in ourselves. If they just fine-tune their game a little bit, and there's key areas that you can look at. For example, the referee, he wasn't going to blow a penalty and he wasn't going to blow a 6 again. And, I know a lot of Broncos fans are frustrated. They were lying in the ruck, and I get it. But this is where experience comes into play, because the Broncos, if they were a little bit, more, if they had a bit more experience in grand finals, they would understand, the ref is allowing us to dictate what's happening here, so we'll lie in the ruck as well. And that's where Penrith Panthers identified that the ref was going to let things play. And so all of these little things, they're going to learn from this grand final. And I think that every single player, 1 to 17, should be proud of the effort that they put in last night. Very disappointed for sure, but at the same time, could not be more proud of the boys, and I cannot wait for the future.
What really stands out to me and what you just said is how the Broncos didn't identify the way that game was being refereed. And Matty, you can probably talk more about it, but I remember in the 2021 grand final, that was the big thing that stood out for me. Penrith identified so quickly how slow the ruck was allowed to be. Is that fair, Matty? And South Sydney didn't adapt to it. Obviously on the big stage for the first time in a long time, Penrith, they'd been there the year before and they'd watched Cameron Smith manipulate it the entire game. They came back the year after, they'd learnt those lessons, and against South Sydney, they just dictated the pace of the game, the entire game, because they worked out the referee was going to allow them to do it. And so be it. You have to adapt to each game and what's happening and how it's being refereed.
And look, some people will look at some calls that could have gone our way. Yeah, okay, whatever. But it was 11 errors to 1.
Yep.
If we cut those errors down to 7, we win the game. So it was within our power to win the game. And the really promising thing is that I know obviously Broncos lost, and as I said, Panthers fans enjoy it. And, you shoot me in the comments, all that kind of stuff. You guys won, you earned the right to do that. But I stand by my statement. When the Broncos complete, they are the best team in the competition. I think that when they started completing their sets, they blew the Panthers off out of the water. We saw it happen. As soon as they started making errors, the Panthers just went straight back into gear. It took a Penrith Panthers side at the peak of their powers to complete at 97%, and the 7 to have the greatest grand final performance by 7 ever to beat the Brisbane Broncos side. If that doesn't give you confidence as a club, I don't know what will. I know it's disappointing. I know it's heartbreaking. We're at the start of something brilliant here, guys. We're at the start of something great. So we'll learn from it, we'll regroup, and we'll be better than ever.
That 97% completion rate start, I've heard that 30 times now, and it still sounds as ridiculous as the first time I heard it.
And the craziest thing is the one error was Mitch Kenny, I think on the 4th tackle, when he made half a line break and got tackled and it spilled out.
Contact into ground,
So, again, really disappointing. Yep, we had that lead, all that stuff. But if you're going to get beaten, at least it's by something great, rather than, going out there, not playing that well, and you get a lot of what ifs, whereas Broncos can go, look, we're a much less experienced team in finals. I think they're the youngest in the competition right now. They should take a lot of confidence out of that game, a lot of confidence.
Yeah, shout out to Adam G. I thought he did a tremendous job refereeing, and you know, you could pinpoint a couple of calls here or there that could have gone the other way and might have been a bit iffy, but I just love the way he refereed the game. Firstly, there was no howlers. That's what we want to see in a big game, but some people will be critical and say that, it was refereed differently to a regular season game. It should be the same at NRL at club level, but you know what? We got a brilliant spectacle last night where it wasn't stop-start. We had these elite athletes, big minute forwards who were forced to push to levels they'd never been to in their lives to see who could stand up to it. And the way he officiated the game by putting the whistle in his pocket when it counted, we got to see that at its best.
I think as well, there's a key, if you wanted a key indication of that, so Liam Martin, I think he gets head high or something happens to him, he stays down. The ref shows the replay, you can see it happen, and the ref's like, not giving it. Yeah, and a lot of Panthers fans would be like, are you serious? Like, that's ridiculous. Guess what happens? Tony Staggs gets crusher tackled. He goes, nah, not copping it.
So good.
And so what have I spoken about all year? About feel for the game. He was going, I've got a feel for this game. I'm gonna ref it the way I feel it and let the players decide. And that's where grand final experience comes in. That's why the Panthers knew, Cam Smith, a few years ago, he came in and tested the ref and said, is he going to blow the whistle? Is he going to blow? He didn't. And so that's why I think the Broncos, look, to be really frank though, like even if the Broncos had have identified the way it was being reffed, they still made so many errors in the first half that they wouldn't have been able to apply that kind of pressure. And so that's just experience. That's experience. Origins and grand finals are played differently. It's that simple.
Yeah, and as Tim just said, it wasn't refereed the other NRL games. Yeah, it wasn't, because no other teams are on this level. Yeah. Have you ever seen a bigger gap between what the prelim finals were and what the grand final was?
Jeez.
Like, we said it all year. And you know what? The prelim finals, it wasn't a team that got lucky and went on a hot run. It was Melbourne and the Warriors. They were the top 4 teams all year. They were never on that level. And you couldn't have had a game in that intensity with any other 2 teams in this competition. I thought the best call by Adam G the entire night, and it shits me to no end in rugby league, when Reece Walsh went up and Isaac Tungo went up, they clashed in the air, and he said, no, just a contest in the air. Yeah. How often do you see that penalised? And everyone at home knows it's a contest for the air.
Yeah. And so, as I said, like, if it was just one way, then you could be like, hang on a sec, like, mate, you're letting, but he was just saying, I'm going to let the game flow. I'm going to ref it like Origin.
And he came into this game under a lot of pressure. I don't know about you two, but it shit me to no end, the media attention he got in the week. I thought it was absolute bullshit.
The stats were so
so
bad.
skewed to suit a certain narrative off the back of refereeing having howlers last week. It was bullshit.
Yeah. And so, as I said, at the ground, absolutely Panthers were laying in the ruck and slowing things down. But that's where the Broncos needed to identify, okay, when they get the ball, we're going to lie in the ruck. We're going to slow things down. And I think that you actually saw that later in the half. I think you saw the Broncos go, hang on a sec, like, we can hold on a bit, because there were a few times where Broncos were holding down and, holding onto a leg a little bit longer.
I'll tell you the other thing, like a grand final played at that speed between that class of teams, when one team completes at 97%, if he didn't let them lie around the ruck a little bit, and it was like quick play balls, mate, no one would have made it past 50 minutes.
Yeah, it would have been like 60 to 50 or something like that score. I agree. I think Adam G deserves a massive rap for. And also, what I really respect about it was his commitment to that. His commitment to go, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to let the players get a feel for the game. And when things were ramping up and Penrith were really starting to push the line, I think it was late in the first half, and we got a penalty and the whole crowd went up. Everyone's like, yeah, finally got a penalty. But he didn't then go back into his shell and go, okay, shit, like, I better start calling every penalty. He said, no, I'm just going to let it all go, let it play. I think he does deserve a big rap. I really do. And I think the Panthers were geniuses at knowing, let's test him and see where the line is. And Broncos, it just took them a little bit longer to cue in. But they'll be better for the run. In regards to performances, we have to speak about Ezra Mann. I mean, he was unbelievable. Some of the shots he put on in defence, like not only his attack, but some of the shots he put on defence, and like that immediate contact where he would just stop whether it's a wide running forward, whether it's a half, and the ability to break a game open like that. Like, it's funny because going into the Dally M's, the argument was kind of like, 5'8" have been a little bit quiet this year. It's been a little bit quiet. And I said Ezra Mann, a few people were like, come on, bro, Ezra Mann. Boy, didn't he cement himself as one of the best sixers in the game.
Mate, I remember sitting here last Monday and talking about Dalian 5 out of the year, and Tim mentioned the numbers before. Even if you take out last night, he'd scored 15 tries this season.
Yeah.
That had flown under my radar completely.
And he's like first full year pretty much.
Yeah. Mate, wasn't that long ago? We were sitting here watching the highlights going, yeah.
Like he'll play first grade for sure, but he's 19.
It's now the time.
Yeah. Are you putting him in too early?
The second try scored, and it's like he's gone through Isaiah Yeo and Nathan Cleary. Yeah. For real, two of the best defensive players in the NRL. Went through them two. I think the first try
was amazing. Lisby just boom, in and away, fend on Tungo, and then Gas Edwards.
And he's just gone the short side, and he's just seen Lindsay Smith there out of position in that three-man spot where Cleary should have been. I think Cleary made the tackle prior and was caught at marker. He just sees him and goes, mate, you're not a chance.
Yeah, far out. So electric. And look, as I said earlier in the piece, the only concern is replacing Adam Reynolds at this club. So if they can find a guy that not necessarily replaces him long term, but in the next 2 or 3 years, if they can find a guy that can do a similar job, this side is set up to be a powerhouse. Now, will they become a powerhouse? We don't know, but geez, they got the ingredients.
And you know what the beauty of it is too? 2 years ago when you were trying to sign a halfback, and honestly, when the rumours first came out you were going to get Adam Reynolds, I went, there's not a hope Benelli's going to go
Yeah, so true.
Now you're in a spot where you can go, hey, we've got the team that can win a comp.
Do you want to come play under this forward
You
pack?
can win many comps in the next 10 years if you're a halfback that just come and guide us around. It'd be interesting to see who they manage to get their paws on. Because like with a team like this, you know, there are so many halfbacks in this competition that aren't superstars that are just solid and just understand the game and could lead this side around and do such good. Like you look at, you know, your Chads, your Hastings, these sort of guys that might not be superstars, but all you have to do is just dictate terms with this side.
Mate, you just need a good kicking game and good direction. Everything else is set. It's sorted.
Is that Queanbeyan Ruru's halfback still available?
He is, mate, and he's fully fit. No post-season surgeries.
So Ezra Mam, just what an electric moment. We were actually sitting in the corner where he scored his tries, and geez, it was special to watch him move. And just his strength in contact, I think it's really underrated. You know, it's one thing to have footwork, but to have footwork and be able to also have strength when people come across. Like, he fended Isaac Tungo, like one of the most aggressive, physical outside backs in the competition. He just went, bang, thanks for coming. And so Ezra Mam was something special. Isn't it funny? 20 minutes ago, guaranteed Clive Churchill. What a year. How good. Now,
he could not be beaten for, like...
I had it around his neck.
The market nearly had to have been shut down after he scored that third one. Like, nothing can happen here, even Penrith winning, that takes it off Ezra Mam.
Yeah.
And isn't it like you are never... And it's a credit to Ezra Mam, but for the rest of time, you can never tell the Nathan Cleary story without Ezra Mam, I don't think.
And I wonder, like, is this his almost villain arc to Penrith or whatever, where Mam had one of the greatest 6 performances you can have, still gets done by Cleary. Is this his moment to go, all right, I'll remember this and I'm coming back for you next year or the year after or whenever? Because good thing is they're at least going to play another 5 years against each other. And as I said before the game, what I'm really excited about is I hope that this starts a rivalry. Speaking of rivalries, I want to talk about Payne Haas. Is that one of the greatest front row performances you've ever seen in a grand final?
Very impressive, wasn't it?
Like, it's one thing to do it on the front foot. Let's say they had like the high completion, you know, the ball way more than the Panthers did. That's one thing. He was doing it off the back foot nearly every single set.
And I thought it was really evident in the first half. The Panthers had picked him out. Not because he's, weak in defence or anything.
First 20 minutes.
To tire him out.
First 20 minutes I was going, ooh, are they really going to hold him down here? No.
No, incredible. At the 20, 30-minute mark, I thought, geez, this is going to work here. They're just the weight of possession is just too much for Payne Haas to be able to overcome this. But the way that he just managed to pull himself back off the canvas and go again, unbelievable.
So
he's a freak.
So in defence, he had his 41 tackles. He missed none. Matty had a stat before. There was something like 60 to 58 or something missed tackles. Like unbelievably high numbers. Not only did he not miss one, but he didn't have an ineffective tackle. He was the only starting forward on the field who didn't have an ineffective tackle to go with not missing a tackle.
Most tackles.
Listen to the missed tackles in the pack. Flegler missed none. Billy Walters 7, Capewell 6, Ricky 3, Carrigan 5. Penrith a bunch through theirs as well. And Haas didn't miss one. Not one of them was ineffective.
Well, even Fisher Harris, 5 misses. Leota, 3 misses. Kenny, 10 misses. Sorensen, 6 misses. Martin, 5 misses. Isaiah Yeo, 2 misses. Payne Haas, 41 tackles, no ineffective, no misses. Plus, he played 65 minutes in the middle of that game. 65 minutes. He had 14 runs for 150 metres. Let me put that in perspective. He was averaging more than 10 metres a run in a grand final against the most dominant forward pack we may have ever seen.
And as you said before, Kempy, it was just the manner in which he had to do it because the Broncos kept turning over ball in their own half. And then they'd sit there and they'd repel the Panthers, and they would gasp by the time they got the ball in hand. And he was coming off his line and just getting momentum back in Brisbane's favour. Then they'd drop it and he'd have to do it all again. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Payne Haas this year, there's only been 3 games, right? This is fucking off its head. There's only been 3 games where he's run for less than 150 metres. One of them was against Gold Coast Titans. In that game, he only played 46 minutes. I'm not sure if it was a HIA or whatever it might be. The other 2 games were both games against Penrith. So the greatest side of all time have obviously identified that they just need to double team him and go hard at him every single time. Keep in mind, in those 2 games as well, they're the most tackles he's made all season. So the greatest team of all time has evidently come in with a plan. We force him to make as many tackles as we can, 40-plus tackles in both those games against them. And, you know, like at the end of the day, he ran 150 metres, which by his standards, he averages 190 per game. But it's what those 150 metres were.
Yeah.
And who they were against and how much they were going at him.
And 40 tackles.
Unbelievable.
It is, as I said, I personally rate it as one of the best grand final performances by a front rower. I really challenge you to find, and like taking out the stat of winning the grand final, obviously that's the most important thing. But when you're looking at purely performances and the situations they were in, it really is up there for the best for me. Like it's nothing short of incredible. It's funny. So at the captain's run, hot as anything. And so watching the boys, they all run out, you know, shirts, whatever. Anyway, so I'm sitting there with like some of the directors of the Broncos and the coaching staff, or standing there, and Payne Haas, he's in a full long sleeve. And I was like, what the hell? Why is Payne Haas wearing a full long sleeve? And he's like, oh, he always does it. I was like, why does he always do it? And then they go, oh, he just loves pain. He just loves it. He loves pain and feeling uncomfortable. I was like,
Timmy's a bit like that.
Yeah, we're cut from a very similar mold.
I was like, what? And I just, look, you can look at his physical stature, you can look at all the physical stuff, but there's one part of Payne Haas that I'd argue is already one of the greatest of all time. It's his mental toughness. Yeah. It's his mental toughness.
Yeah, we spoke about it pre-show, but you just get that feeling Payne Haas is going to be like the Greg Inglis in junior development, where everyone's going to have the next GI.
Yeah.
None of them turn out to be the next GI, and Payne Haas, he's going to be that exact guy.
Look, he's so good, and I'm such a fan of Payne that if we don't go and get close to winning a premiership, obviously I never would want to lose Payne Haas, but I almost think he is owed a grand final win. I almost think he's owed a premiership because of what he does week in, week out, and what he delivered on the field last night. That's how good he is.
It'll be interesting to see over the next 20, 30, 40 years, like, if there are other Payne Haases, or is he just a genetic freak who has the mindset that, like...
I think what separates him, obviously the genetic stuff, but I don't think people appreciate how strong he is up here. Think about what he's had to deal with this year. And we won't go into it. We all know. Like, think about what's going on in his life right now. And he just did that in a grand final against 2 of the most dominant, aggressive pack. Like, Fisher Harris and Leota came out and bashed the forward pack for the first 20 minutes. For the first 4, we couldn't even get off our own freaking line. And Payne, Paddy and Flegler just went, sweet, all good. We're just going to keep turning up and eventually we'll get some meters.
Once again at 23 years of age.
Fucking phenomenal. Unbelievable.
I liked, we spoke about it coming into the show and the podcast, the grand final and the podcast last week, but just that trying to unsettle Penrith and how good their defence is, second phase play, had to be through offloading. Yeah. And you could see them trying to get that in. They had limited opportunities early on, but Pat Carrigan threw one that went to ground, I think it was early in the first half, but Payne Haas had a terrific offload for the Ezra Mam second try. It's it's how you rattle them. I think it's
Yeah.
the only way you can rattle them. Came off sometimes, more often than not, but
Well, think about this as well. So I think Paddy's 25. Flegler, I think he's 24, 23. So they're going up against arguably the best front row pairing ever in the peak of their career. Like they're babies in front row terminology. They're babies, and yet they still went toe to toe with full on at their peak, best front rows we've seen, front row pairing we've seen. I thought Payne Haas and Flegler and Carrigan, I thought that they were phenomenal, like absolutely phenomenal.
And like as you said, mate, these guys are so young. Like they should still be scarred from being part of the worst Broncos team of all time.
Yeah,
it's built them.
To think that they were a part of the worst, the wooden spoon side, these boys, you're like, what? It's almost bizarre. So Payne Haas for me, I thought he was nothing short of incredible, and I loved as well the way he mixed his line runs up. Sometimes it was in the front rowers, straight at him, let's go toe to toe. Sometimes he would take that overs line and go at Cleary or go at a smaller fella. It's actually one thing I really noticed at the ground. Penrith are so good at spotting people. In the first 20 minutes, the amount of times they went at Billy Walters, like go and look at the first kickoff. Fisher Harris runs straight at Billy Walters. He goes an overline, and it's not because he's scared. We know Fisher Harris will run straight. It's all to do with the game plan. It's all to do with we're going to make you tired because we think that you're a smaller body that can fatigue, and then obviously we can go through the middle. But I thought Billy Walters was really brave.
I'm just getting up his numbers now, but I felt like he came off a lot earlier than what he
Way
usually
earlier.
does.
Yeah. And it was because if you watch at the ground, Leota and Fisher Harris and the boys were just looking for him. Wherever he was, they were going. Which, again, is that incredible commitment to a game plan.
that play from his replacement not long after he came on, Tyson Smoothie, to hit Flegler short. I'm pretty sure it was on fifth tackle.
Yeah.
Smoothie comes on, I said probably a bit earlier than expected, or as planned, I should say. Fifth tackle, you've got Walsh calling for the ball, Reynolds calling for the ball, and he goes short to a steaming front rower. Like, if he gets that wrong and he doesn't crash through and score, you're going, wrong play, what are you doing, mate? Stick to the game plan. That was a ballsy play, and credit to him because it paid off.
And full credit to him. I'm confident in saying 12 weeks ago he would have got that wrong.
Mate, when Smoothie came in his first game this year, I was like, I literally said I think he needs a little bit more time in reserve grade. Like, I don't know if he's ready for first grade yet. How wrong was I? He's been so good off the bench.
I was exactly the same. I can't remember what game it was, but I just remember sitting there going, why is this guy in the team? It's just not working.
He
He's
just
not on
didn't
the
look
same
comfortable.
page.
He didn't look comfortable.
It looked like Sonny Luke at the Panthers.
Yeah, like he was coming out and looking like left or right, and then weren't the right people there. It was, he was outstanding. But yeah, Payne Haas, what an honour it is to watch him play rugby league in such a, like, the way he does it at such a young age. I thought Paddy Carrigan, as I said, there are different types of toughness. There's the guy that can dominate people and you see the big hit, and then there's the Paddy Carrigan toughness that he has the big hit in him, but he's the guy that can get hit and he'll keep coming until the 80th minute, no matter what. And I felt sorry for him for that error. And I think it was like the 70th minute or whatever. I was like, if there's one bloke in this team that doesn't deserve that error, it's Paddy. But the error is because he has worked himself to an absolute standstill. You could see when he got up, he's cut on his face, his hair's everywhere, he's gassed as anything. But I thought he was so brave, and I just cannot wait to see these boys as a forward pack grow together. Like, think about in 2 or 3 years. It does remind me very much so of early Panthers in 2020 of what these guys can become. I thought Flegler. What I really was, so when the Panthers came out and watching it, they were rolling down the field way better than the Broncos, and I was a bit like, are we getting blown out of the water here where we're a bit flat? But what I really respect about this Broncos forward pack is, even if they're getting a bit rolled, they just never give up. They keep that same tempo all game long. In regards to negatives, I mean, the negatives are obvious. It's completion rate. Like, if they complete it at 80%, they win by a substantial margin. 2 or more tries, in my opinion.
Sorry, mate. That was rude.
No, you go.
No, you're an asshole.
You go.
Sorry. I went way too early on you.
No, you go.
I was just going to say and we spoke about it off air, but what disappointed me was that we're accepting of the Broncos making mistakes in attacking scenarios when they're using the ball and they're going wide, but that first half, with just the soft errors coming off their own line in just pretty standard contact, was so disappointing.
Yeah.
Because if they did it and it was Reece Walsh throwing a cut ball or, something a bit out of the ordinary, it's like, okay, they need to play expansive to beat this Penrith team. Just that first 20 to 30 minutes, just didn't give themselves a chance, did they?
And that's the thing. Like, if they had have just completed at decent 80%, 85%, they really do win the game. Like, I know people don't want to hear that and whatever, but I think it's just a truth. Now, the argument you can have is, was it Penrith's unrelenting pressure that forced those errors, that made them think they need to do this coming out of their own end, that made Selwyn Cobbo think he needs to go down a short side and then just drop the ball, or Herbie Farnworth run a bit harder than he usually does and in the contact gets it, whatever it is. But that's where I think they'll look at that first half and go, boys, if we were just a little bit smarter, maybe it was our game. Maybe it was our game.
That's right. I think as well, like, just grand final experience.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like, I think if that exact game was played again in 12 months' time, I think I'd have to back Brisbane in.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And I have to agree. If I have to be honest, I think that in 12 months' time, if they were all as fit as they are now and they had the same sides, I just think the Broncos would be a little bit smarter in that first half and they find a way to get it done.
But I also then just look at Penrith and go, fuck, are they just that team that just finds a way to...
Or do they readjust
it's
again?
It's just so hard to...
Yeah.
Well, the adjustment that we spoke about last week, and that was Cleary playing both edges.
Yeah.
For the first time, basically, I've seen in recent years, or if not his career, playing more on the left side and swinging over. Where do you do all his damage in that second half? Well, not all of it, the majority of it. The match-winning try, swinging left to give the ball to Critter. It's like, you just know they'll find a way
to adjust to it.
And he obviously identified something on that left side, because Mitch Kenny, I think it was 2 or 3 tackles before that, he went short, and you could see Nate there going, for the first time this season, with Mitch Kenny going, give me the fucking ball. Good God. But it ended up being perfect because Mitch Kenny dragged Jordan Ricky out of position.
Yeah.
So it threw that edge out.
Yeah. It was an incredible performance by the Panthers and the Broncos. Definitely some silly mistakes and whatever, but when you're going up against a side in their 4th grand final, it's like you kind of almost... You don't accept it because you want to be better and we could have been better, but you understand it. You understand that you're going up against one of the greatest sides ever assembled, and it's not like you guys are a side that's had a couple of grand finals experiences. Basically, all of us except for 1 or 2 with Capewell have never been in a grand final, let alone barely played any finals footy. Like, this is as a team, this is really their first finals push.
I was looking at the Broncos team list, like on their stats and everything, and fuck, thank God Corey Oates wasn't in that game. Could you imagine if he lost 15 and then he lost that?
Oh.
Losing those 2 games like that would have been fucking
Nightmare.
heartbreaking. Can I ask you as a Broncos fan, which one
hurts more?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Probably 2015, because I didn't think the Cowboys played that well, and I think that last try could have been shut down. Whereas this one, it definitely hurts. But again, and I've said it all podcast, it took arguably the greatest ever side to complete at 97% and Cleary to have the greatest 20 minutes in the grand final to beat us. And that's where, as a competitor, you step back and go, yes, we were ahead by a certain amount of points, but if you beat me with your best, fair play to you, you win, we go back, we regroup, and we come back again next year. Whereas if you beat me with a shit game, then it's my fault. Then it's like, fuck, we could have won that for sure. And it sounds stupid because you're like, well, you were 16 points ahead. But again, even at the stands, and Matt can attest to this, I was never sitting there going, we're sweet. I actually told Matt to shut the fuck up when he was talking about I was like, mate, there's fucking 25 minutes to go, and this is a Nathan Cleary side, talking about we've already got the premiership. So I was never in the mindset, because as I said off air, boys, it goes, they score 1 try, as they did. All they need to go is boom, boom, game's completely back on. This is a Penrith Panthers. And the reason why I knew they would definitely stay in it is because I knew for a fact, not for a fact, but as close to a fact as you can get, they would almost guarantee themselves at least 85 to a 90% completion rate to end the game. So they were going to give themselves at least, let's just say, 8 to 10 sets to score tries. Whereas with a team like the Broncos, because they can make errors, you're like, how many sets are they going to get? Are they going to get 4 completed sets to end the game? 5 completed sets? But yeah, just want to talk about, from the wing though, Jesse Arthurs. What an incredible game. You could tell that their game plan was don't give Selwyn Cobbo the ball unless it's in high pressure situations on his line, because we know how good he is at kick return. Jesse Arthurs was peppered all night long, and not only did he do his job, he actually made line breaks individually. He was phenomenal.
We spoke all week about Brian Toto being a potential Clive Churchill medalist. I was sitting there at halftime going, we've picked the wrong fucking player.
Mate, he was so good. So good.
You know, like I thought that a lot of that game plan, like yes, didn't want to kick someone, but I also thought a lot of that game plan was hopefully coming down to hopefully just controlling Herbie Farnworth as well. They couldn't handle either of them.
Yeah.
They were both so good, and Jesse Arthurs in particular. Some of those line breaks he made. It was actually there was a tackle that Nathan Cleary made on him in the first half as well. That in the shit fight of a 60 minutes for Cleary, that was a big tackle. If he wouldn't have been there to make that one, Jesse could have taken that a long way. But yeah, little grand final cult hero Jesse Arthurs.
Mate, he was so good. We're sitting there just going, almost like waiting for the pressure to get to him. And he just like, no, sweet. And some of the tough carries he took too, unbelievable.
When was the last time? I mean, any player really, but a winger ran through the middle of the Panthers in a full line.
Yeah.
For a line break.
Yeah. He was so good. And that's what I think Kevy Wallace deserves a massive rap. He picked him and he stuck with him. And maybe Oatsy would have handled it, maybe not. But what we do know for sure is Jesse definitely handled it.
Because they loaned him to the Warriors during the COVID period.
Almost lucky to be there to a degree. But we've always been a fan of Jesse. Even when he's at the Warriors, I was like, I do like what he does. I do like what he gets through. Reece Walsh, I think he'll learn a lot from this. He had, as I said, really mixed bag. He had some really good moments and obviously some not so good moments. I think he's definitely one of those players that, okay, so he went into Origin and he had that big moment. And I think that it seemed to a degree that he was almost relying on that moment a bit. He almost like, well, I've already done it on the big stage, so I'm going to do it again. And I think what this will teach Reece is that you have to earn it every single time. It's not just going to happen for you. So when he stepped Cleary though, that footwork and that like explosion of speed, far out, Sven's Tungle, then inside to Mam. So he'll learn a lot from that. And I think that the fact that it's happening to guys like Reece Walsh, Ezra Mam, Payne Haas, Patrick Carrigan, but to a lesser degree, the fact that it's happening to these guys at such a young age, like they've lost a grand final against one of the greatest ever sides at 21 years old, at 20 years old, like it puts them in really good stead in key positions going forward. So, I can't wait to see, because it's almost, obviously you would want to win the comp for sure. Absolutely. But what I hope this does for Reece Walsh is it puts a fire under him heading into this preseason. Because imagine if we win the comp and I would want to do that, and he killed it. He scored, 3 tries, Clive Churchill. I could see Reece going a bit like crazy in the off season and just enjoying it a little bit much, because he's that kind of guy. He's a high energy kind of character. Whereas I know how competitive he is. This is going to hurt him for a long time. I reckon he's going to come back better than ever next year.
And wasn't there, for me, there was 2 plays last night that just summed up Reece Walsh to a T. The first one was when he beat Cleary, and he just went, this kid can't be stopped. Yeah. The other one was when he came out of the in goals, he was put on the ground. And, I talk about this all the time with Reece Walsh, and this is a moment where it went against him. He's so competitive, he thought, fuck it, I'm going to get up and keep going.
Yeah.
The play was, and if it was Dylan Edwards, he stays on the ground.
Stays on the ground.
Because he understands the moment and what it means for that set of 6, and that they can't afford to give away points. Off the back of that, the short dropout goes out. They kick the 2 points to go up 8-6. But I think people would expect Reece Walsh to probably sit back and watch the try assist that he had and enjoy that.
No,
Reece will be watching that play where he had the forced dropout and learning from that 100%.
And the couple of kicks that he had as well, I think he'll be disappointed in.
This game could be the making of Reece Walsh. Like, he will learn so much in this game of football. We knew going into this game and in this season that he had all the talent in the world, but he was raw, and he had one of the great grand final moments by scorching the bloke we've just wrapped this whole show in, Nathan Cleary, one-on-one. Brilliant piece of freakish individual work. But like you mentioned, a couple of little errors he had there. There was also, maybe I'm being a bit harsh on him, but with the tap back for the Kenny try, I think as the fullback who's going to be in behind the line anyway, I think he's probably the one who had to be covering there. You can see when the try is scored, he's sitting back in behind the post, just sort of twiddling his thumbs a little bit. Someone had to be in behind there covering, especially like it's a short dropout. The idea is you do tap it back to your players. I think it was Herbie or whoever jumped up did that perfectly, but there was no one there to collect it. There was. It was Mitch Kenny. Probably should have been Walsh in behind the line. Maybe critical on him, but so many little aspects, and he'll watch this game probably over again, and he'll learn so much from it. And for in the short term, while there's a lot of pain for him, I'm sure, God, it's a scary prospect at what he will take from this game going into next season.
And I would almost guarantee that at some point over the next few months, he's going to sit down with Billy Slater and watch that game.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And like he's almost a victim of his own heights that he's reached this year.
Yep.
Guys, this kid is 21 years old. He had his origin moment, killed it. He's got his first origin series. You know, when has a 21-year-old fullback come in and just dominated a Melbourne Storm or a Roosters? Like, it's the fact that he even still had his moment just shows you how great this kid is. The fact that he had those errors and those certain areas where you could fix, he still was there to go bang off the left foot, straight through, try assist. Just shows you, like, this kid's great. He's going to be great. And let's not forget the the Broncos don't make the grand final if Reece Walsh isn't fullback, most likely. Or at the very least, they don't make it as resoundingly. Tristan
I don't
Sailor,
think you make it.
he has had such a good year. He's been so good for the club. And also, he's on like 400 grand. You know what I mean? So, like, I know he's going to break the bank eventually and he's going to be on a huge coin, but he's still on, like, massive unders. So I'm so happy for Walsh for the season, and I just cannot wait to see him, you know, go to that whole next level. Herbie Farnworth, aside from that first error, and that's been a little bit harsh, aside from that, he was phenomenal.
Big game
Absolutely
player,
phenomenal.
isn't he?
What about some of the try-saving tackles he did, one-on-one tackles on Tunga in the first half?
And I obviously had Isaac Tungo, who I was relying on him to score to avoid a chicken dance today. And 5 minutes in, I thought, he's going to shit in here. He has to score down this edge. They're on the front foot every single time. They were cutting him up, but Herbie just kept on making big play after big play after big play. He was everywhere.
Yeah, so good. He's going to be a massive loss. I know we've got some really good young guys coming through, but geez, Herbie's been good this year. Far out.
Well, what's going to happen is next season, Selwyn Cobbo in particular, but Cobbo and assuming it's probably Jesse Arthur's on the wing, depending on what they want to do with him, if he goes to centre or whatever, but because he runs for 150, 200 metres a game, they're going to have to step up in that yardage, aren't they?
Oh, massively. And I know someone wants to go centre, but I'm like, bro, you get more ball on the wing. You get more opportunity to do things. Like the centre, you just... I feel like wingers are more important these days. It sounds ironic because Herbie's fucking playing so well, but he's a unique centre. I don't see Selwyn being the same as Herbie in the way he plays. He's
just had 12 months or 8 or 9 months of just being on the end of peaches from Reece Walsh. Bro, like, why do you want to move?
So, yeah, it's going to be interesting what to do.
If teams defend Reece Walsh well, Adam Reynolds puts it on a platter for you anyway.
Yeah. And we spoke about it already, but that tackle by Kobe Hetherington in the dying moments, it's one of the greatest freaking grand final tackles I've ever seen in my life.
What's he like as a bloke? I reckon he'd be a legend.
I actually haven't spoken to him that much, to be honest, but everyone that I've spoken about him says he's like knockabout bloke, one of the boys.
Feels like one of those classic country footballers that plays 20 years and wins 8 grand finals.
Yeah.
Works at the pub after the game. Love him.
Who else stood out for you guys for the Broncos?
Palacia that came off the bench, I thought he was good as well.
He was incredible.
Yeah.
Far out he has ended the year well. I say it every single episode, but geez, I wish he wasn't going to the Titans. I understand, you know, at the Broncos with such a pack that is very hard to break into, he's going to be a great signing for the Titans.
Isn't it going to be unreal? Like, you head into next season and you look at these Queensland clubs, like the Dolphins, the forward pack handled themselves this year. You're going to put Tom Gilbert back in and Tom Flegler into that side.
So good.
Titans, you know, they've arguably got the three of the best young front rowers in rugby league. Add Palacia into it. They're going to get Beaufort Moore back as well. Like, the forward packs in Queensland are off their heads at the moment.
Even at the Dolphins, the yardage of Herbie we just spoke about, how much that'll help the pack.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah,
and then all these young guys up at North Queensland as well, these young back rowers.
Yeah. Keenan Palacita, he was so good off the bench, and I love the fact he went on there with a mission where Payne's off. I need to pick up the slack here. If I come on here and play poorly, they're going to blow us off the park. And also, he did that against the best forward pack in the competition. You know, like that's nothing to sniff at. That's a great knock from Keenan.
And like, I think there's such a big difference between playing well over the last few weeks, but then doing it on grand final day. And like to take, for example, you know, a guy for the Panthers that didn't have his greatest game, he'll learn from it. But Lindsay Smith, he's impressed me so much all season.
Yeah.
But I think the moment sort of got to him a little bit.
Yeah.
Palacia, not at all.
Not at all. So 38 minutes, He had 14 runs, 150 metres, 36 post-contact, 2 tackle breaks, and 20 tackles in 38 minutes in a grand final. And also, we're talking about a team that, against all other front rowers, that play 60 minutes, keep them under 100 metres. He played 38 minutes and made 150 metres. Like, as a young or an inexperienced front rower, that's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, look, as I said, I'm super proud of the boys, and they've had an incredible year, and I think Kevy deserves a massive rap too. Like, the fact that they went in half-time and then they came out and blew them out of the water, he must have, he clearly gets the right message across at the right time to this Broncos side. Yeah, I think he's had an incredible year, Kevy.
And once again, I spoke about it last week when we were talking about the New Zealand Warriors to their fans, but, once again, premierships aren't won in a season. They're won over a period of time, and your period of time has been 3 years where you've come from a spoon to one of the best teams to not win a grand final.
I know, it's crazy. And it's like your post said last night. This Broncos side beats, I want to say, 8 out of 10.
I originally said any team ever, that was overs, but I agree with you. 8 out of 10. I reckon they, if I have a look through I went through it last night and had a look at the last 5 teams to lose grand finals, I'm confident that Brisbane side beats all of them.
Oh, easy. Again, I know I keep stressing it. This is a 97% completion rate.
Yeah.
The Panthers, the best side to ever do it.
And you know what? I actually reckon this Brisbane side last night, I reckon they could have beaten the 2021 Panthers.
Yeah, I think so. I actually think they might have beaten the last 2 years' Panthers. Because this version of the Panthers is the best version of themselves, and they only lost by a penalty goal.
Would you put your 2023 Broncos over your 2015 Bronx?
Yeah, I think so. The 2006 maybe not, because of Lockie, Webke, Petro, and they obviously won it.
I wasn't even going to ask you that. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, the 2015, I reckon this Broncos side gets the job done.
Oh, I've said it all year, Campion, it kills me. I'm annoyed that it killed me come grand final as well, but the short dropouts, time and place, do it at 6-0 up, down I should say, went for it again, just went out on the full or short or something, might have gone short, penalty from in front, 2-try buffer. I mean, look, that didn't cost them the game, but there was a 2-point margin at the end of the game. Just time and place.
I think that was a representation of how gassed that Brisbane side was.
Yeah, but also it represents what this Broncos side is, of we are going to be confident all the time. Doesn't matter where we are, what we're doing. For example, the game was on the line and Renault's trying to kick it out.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And Cleary obviously catches the ball. And so it's hard to knock it when it got you to a grand final. So do you get to a grand final and go in your shell and try and, you know what I mean? So it's...
I'm certainly not knocking the... I love the short dropout.
Yeah.
It's revolutionised the game in recent years. But there's just a time where it doesn't have to be done.
No, I agree, because... That's where I go, and I've been saying it all year, same as you, is this is the little tweaks this team needs to make to win a premiership. It's the little things the 7-tackle set or the drop ball coming out your own end or the short dropout. It's just little, the team is there to win it. This is a premiership winning side. It doesn't need to recruit anyone, doesn't need to bring anyone in. It just needs to tweak their game plan slightly, and they win. They win the comp. That's how close they are. But... obviously, everything has to go right, injuries, everything like that. But yeah, I think Kevin Walters deserves a massive rap. I think it's been an incredible year, and it's very easy to forget that a lot of people were like, Broncos won't make the 8 this year. Broncos won't make the 8. People, matter of fact, you could go 10 rounds in, and there were a lot of people saying, nah, they'll die in the end of the year.
Mate, it was just after Origin. I remember I did a thing on my podcast, just asked people who are the contenders and the pretenders, and mate, the amount of people that said Broncos pretenders just blew me away. And a lot of people were saying, they'll fall off a cliff like they did last year.
Yeah. And so I think Kevy deserves a massive, massive rap for that. A massive rap for getting these boys up. And, even watching them, the captains run, these guys, they weren't edgy. There was no carry-on. They were zoned in.
Can I ask you, from what you, and I know you weren't there for the entire week, obviously, but is there anything you saw in hindsight from the Broncos week or how they handled it or anything that sort of...
No, I think they handled it perfectly. I really do.
So what I thought was really interesting, at that lunch route the other day, Kevin Walters and Adam Reynolds got up and they spoke and I sort of thought they looked pretty relaxed. Did you?
Yeah, for sure.
I think I even turned to you or Tom and said, geez, they look relaxed. And then I think it was Benny Elias got up and he the first thing he said was, geez, I've never seen Kevy that uptight. And I sort of went,
that's right.
I sort of went, what the fuck? But I mean, like, he's obviously toured with him and knows him, has been around the game for a long time, which I thought was really interesting. Maybe Benny just missed the mark, but
Bit of a weird thing to say at a public. Did he say?
He said a few weird things, Benny.
Very like what?
Very unlike Benny.
He didn't miss the mark on a few things, Benny. But anyway, when he said it, as I said, I was fixated on Andrew Johns. He didn't think it was a strange thing to say by his body language. I thought that was really interesting.
Well, I mean, maybe he was at the lunch. I wasn't there, but at training, the boys were absolutely not uptight. Absolutely,
he didn't come across it at all to me. Neither did Adam Reynolds.
What did you tell Ezra? What did you get in his ear? What were the Beaks' words of advice that produced that grand final?
Yeah. My words did it. No,
So,
I
I scored 4 once, right?
yeah.
yeah. Please.
If you need a bit of inspiration. No,
It's in my favourites.
yeah. No, he just come off. I didn't say anything special. I asked him how he's feeling. He said, "Man, I'm feeling chilled. Might go, could you later?" And I said, "Oh, mate, it's weird how everyone handles things differently. I used to be a very focused in." He's like, "No, I'm the opposite, man. I'm real chill." Then I asked him what he's doing in the off season, and then I just said, "Bro, you're here now. Enjoy it. Just enjoy it. You're here. Nothing's going to change." And he was like, "Shit, baby. Yeah, let's go."
Did you get to talk to a few others as well?
Spoke to Reno, spoke to Paddy. Yeah, spoke to the boys. It was awesome experience. And as I said, they were ready. There wasn't a single part of me that's like, "Ooh, they're nervous and they're worried about the moment." No, they were excited. They wanted this moment. It wasn't any nervous energy at all. So much so, I even said, "I'm more nervous than you boys." They were ready. It's just they came up against one of the greatest performances we've ever seen with one of the best platforms, or the best platform ever laid in the history of grand finals. Anything else, boys?
Great grand final. I reckon this is going to be a grand final that's going to age really well too.
Yeah.
We're always going to remember it for those Ezra Mann moments, the moment that Nathan Cleary elevated himself to another level. I think the longer that time goes on, this grand final will get better and better.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that is us done and dusted. I'm trying to think, is anything else? Don't forget, Shoe Grab. Make sure you head to Shoe Grab to get new shoes, free delivery on all orders over $99. Sneakers, casual performance slides, limited exclusive, plus a bunch of clothes and other accessories. Also, grab a case of Bloke beer, guys. Grab a case of Bloke beer. The Bloke podcast will continue on, so don't stress. We will be doing a season review next week, so make sure to tune in. But as usual, we'll go and fuck ourselves. Thank you.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.